Don't you love this village?
Go take the gap year for college. We took the gap year.
There you go. We did not. I've got it. My oldest is a freshman in college. And our freshman is here. Boy, can't believe
Yeah.
we're subjecting ourselves to 2 years in a row. College,
Oh,
senior
look
years.
at this.
Plans for like, I think they still call it like Mom's Day and Dad's Day down there.
Just did. I didn't think we wanted to. My husband and I both went. And the smart move is to go some other weekend, right?
Yeah, it sounds crazy and sounds expensive.
And there's my arms, and you can't find any place to eat that's not like an hour and a half away. It's just a mess.
Chaos.
All the activities are just packed. But he actually shows some enthusiasm for that. So if
You
he's
gotta go.
anything, okay, fine, I'm on board.
Yeah.
We're gonna try it.
Yeah.
It might be the only time we do Mom's Weekend and Dad's Day, but we'll see.
Indiana, that's like college is starting to change. It's just like, it's like parents waiting for something, something kind of more generic.
Yeah, now there's a family weekend for organization.
Oh, is it?
That's
Okay.
September 12th.
We don't, right? We don't. Okay. All right.
Classes already started for them, right? They started school back on Monday, right?
Yes, he started on Monday, but didn't have his classes organized for some reason. Take the AP test and get your AP credit, but they still want you to take this placement test, and until you get the results of the placement test, they don't place you, even if you have. So he couldn't actually register for his physics class until Monday. I don't get it, but.
Hi, how are you?
Karen's coming today? We know if Karen's coming.
I was just gonna ask Chuck. Or I don't remember.
We'll see what happens. How's it going? How are you? Good.
Tom, nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
Got here early to talk to you. Now we stopped for 15 minutes before. Yeah, but the only thing you guys are supposed to do
Yeah.
Baby, do you know if Karen's coming?
part of the public comment process. Public has
Just curious.
the right to ask questions, about the zoning rules, right? If they do have questions, they should ask them towards you, and then direct them to staff.
Okay.
Staff, someone want to ask them a question.
Right.
That you want to sign?
And you told us, I did, because we really shouldn't answer.
No, it shouldn't be for you. It's not, yeah, it's like, you guys are the experts, so
We just been the
this
facilitators.
is your, it's like,
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. Yep.
back and forth between them, but,
Yeah.
and you obviously know, like this, I was here, I think, with one of the candidates here.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
something that people are constantly asking the same exact question.
Well, and I try to, if you've heard me before,
Yeah.
I try to temper that and,
We don't,
and
so we didn't have a packet for
Opening remarks,
Mhm.
I mean, if you want me to jump into any clarification, I'm happy to do so as far as the legalities of why we're having these like 2 meetings back to back that are very similar in nature, but they satisfy different legal requirements. The zoning commission is satisfying the state statutory requirement for the replacement of the zoning code and then the plan and zoning commission is saying energy code required. So I think that's.
Yeah, I'll do this, and then, you know, if there's anything else, I'll.
I'm just. It's a new one. Yeah, I've used it on the docking, but I don't think I've taken it out yet. I just saved everything to my desktop.
Am I connected to the Wi-Fi then?
Password? I actually have it on my desk. I don't think I'm gonna need to be online, but.
Do you know the password for the Wi-Fi? Village Hall.
I wish that I did.
I'll ask
I connected to it, but I don't think I can see it.
Yeah, that's the thing, is I don't think I actually even know. I feel like
Did the same thing?
I'd say we wait
Yeah,
a few
same thing. I don't know why
minutes
everybody's-
late, I think we wait.
we really should.
I don't think so. PC 2515 comprehensive.
Or they're just gonna go off 2 sheets.
I don't know.
You can see it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'll go right after you, okay?
Oh, looks like it is. Oh, I was just gonna say, I finally, oh, that's not the one I have. Oh, okay. Oh, I've got, I don't know what that is. Well, okay, don't pass it on.
Classified information.
Highly. She's gonna be a couple minutes late.
Oh, okay.
Set the attendance, we can note that she's coming. No, actually, I was just undergrad in Champaign, and then I went to John Marshall Law School, and it was still now it's UIC. It has acquired it, or how to say, but yeah. So I guess in a roundabout way, I was called part of the U of S system. But
Yeah, I think
yeah,
so.
no, it's
Do I have to swear everybody in?
just the.
Usually I ask anybody that wants to speak to get up all at once. and I
If you want to do that, that's fine. But yeah, generally,
have to, I would
just the witnesses that are going to offer like testimony, like the villages, you know, the petitioners, Scott, Libby, and Arista. I don't think it's necessary.
I don't ever swear them.
Okay.
It's just,
Yeah.
Okay.
if you don't think it's necessary.
I don't think it could hurt. So if you want to just do it, I don't think it can hurt if you want to make. Yeah, you could do it all at once, but I would also swear in the village. The village is with. Okay. Yeah. If they're offering, testimony, I feel like they should be, especially since they have a consultant.
Sir?
And we swear in all the other applicants, right? Like the special use permit and
There's 2 sheets?
Maybe just because they work for the village. Yeah, we're a little strange, a little different because the applicant is the village.
There's 2 sheets. Sorry.
They're not. If he wants to do a blanket, no, everyone feels more official now.
Social security number being routed.
200 oath, yeah. All the testimony that was submitted is null and void because it wasn't under oath.
So you got sign the address.
I figured, thought maybe since it was a nice summer evening that folks would want to take a pass, but. Let's see. hall phone number under Village Hall. It's
Okay.
this 485-7344, so with the area code. It's taped up on the inside of there by Libby.
Oh, it is. Okay. I can't ever see the password.
Right. Yeah, it's always just like the dots.
We're all done. We're wrapped up.
As it is now 6:05, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Zoning Commission for August 27th, 2026 to order with a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Evans.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Saborn.
Present.
Commissioner Svoboda.
Here.
Commissioner Straight.
Here.
Commissioner Weber here. Chairman Grund.
Here. Welcome, everyone. It's nice to have a crowd for a change, since we usually only have one or two people. Good evening. Before we begin, I'd like to clarify the purpose of tonight's proceedings. Two meetings are being held this evening. The first is the statutorily required public hearing on the proposed zoning text amendments. Illinois law requires the zoning commission to conduct a public hearing to review the proposed amendments, receive public testimony, and consider the information presented. Following the public hearing, the Planning and Zoning Commission will convene its regular meeting to discuss the proposed amendments from the Zoning Commission and formulate a recommendation to the Board of Trustees. Under the Village Code, the commission serves in an advisory capacity and is responsible for making a recommendation on the proposed text amendments. The final authority to approve, modify, or deny any zoning text amendments rests with the village board. I'd just like to also add that this process started in January of 2024. Our commission has had 7 meetings at least specific to these zoning amendments where we deliberated for hours, and deliberated for hours. So we've had a long go of this. It's 2.5 years plus. So now we begin. First order of business is we have 2 sets of meeting minutes to approve. So we will start with the approval of the May 4th meeting minutes. Any corrections or additions?
No.
Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the May 4th meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Evans.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Commissioner Saborn.
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda.
Aye.
Commissioner Straight.
Aye.
Commissioner Weber. Aye. Chairman Grund.
Aye. Second is the approval of the June 4th meeting minutes, corrections, additions, edits, etc. Do I have a motion to approve the June 4th meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Evans.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Commissioner Sabor.
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda.
Aye.
Commissioner Straker.
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairman Grund.
Aye. So obviously, everybody knows why we're here, and we know why you're here. For those of you who haven't been with us before, this portion of the meeting is called public comment. That has nothing to do with tonight's agenda. So if you have something to say unrelated to the agenda about anything in the village, this is where we can do it. Comments from the commissioners first? None. Any comments from the public before we start? None. Old business, I assume we have none. On to new business. Some ground rules. This is going to be a public hearing for the zoning text amendments. So anybody that, from the audience, that's going to speak tonight, I have to swear you in, as well as staff tonight. So just keep that in mind. This is a public hearing for the purpose of considering a request by the Village of Brookfield as petitioner for the adoption of a new zoning code and map, new zoning code, which will replace the current zoning code and map incorporated in Chapter 62 of the Village Code in its entirety. So anybody that wants to speak after staff gives their presentation, please stand up so I can swear you in. Everybody stand up that wants to speak tonight so I can swear you in all at once. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Swear the testimony I am about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Great. I turn it over to staff.
Before we get started, we have Arista from Camiris here that's going to be giving the staff presentation tonight as the petitioner. I just did want to reference and put in the record that we have received information regarding 2 of the areas for the proposed rezoning as part of this public hearing, and that following staff review, we have identified additional amendments that the consultant that Arista will be addressing tonight to review and incorporate as appropriate. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Arista.
All right, I think I'm on. Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you all for showing up tonight. If you've been to any of these meetings before, this presentation might look a little bit familiar, but still, for those of you who have not been here, we want to kind of run you through what's in this new code. So first off, kind of what are the goals of this update? What did we start with all that long time ago? And really what we have here is the implementation of the adopted plans and policies, creating a much more user-friendly structure, things like graphics and tables to make it easier to understand, trying to be more predictable and consistent in how the ordinance is applied, kind of I know what I can do with my lot, I know what would happen next to me on the lot next to me, integrating some design to just get good buildings coming into the Village of Brookfield, preservation of neighborhood character, requiring fewer special approvals, looking at things that, we want to see in Brookfield to make it easier for them to happen, as well as increasing the transparency of development approvals. So one of the main things you'll see is a brand new organization of the code, and these are the principles that we followed. Compartmentalization, which I'll explain in a second, is really just putting all kinds of information that are similar together in one section, so that way it's easier to find them, it's easier to even make amendments into the future working that way. If you've looked through the code, you see there's a lot more graphics that are included in this as well. We've tried to define all the general terms that we possibly can, that we think we'll use, so that way we can reduce interpretation. Clarified all the different measurement methodologies, really making sure that building height is measured one way throughout the village, and we're very clear on that. And being very consistent in voice, so it sounds the same throughout the code. And the importance of this is over the years with an older code, a lot of amendments have come in, different authors have written them, so we want to just make sure that it's consistent and a clear tone. So this is what I was talking about compartmentalization. This is the new organization of the code. You can kind of see it identified in those 4 chunks. The first is Article 1, which is the title, the purpose, and intent, basically introducing the ordinance, and then following up with all the general definitions and the measurement methodologies as I just talked about. kind of the heart of the beast is that second section. Those are all the different zoning districts. And I already see an error in my PowerPoint. Article 6 should be downtown districts. But really, this is all the different districts and their categories, as well as how uses are addressed. And then we move away from principal uses, principal structures, into other things that can happen on a lot. Things like accessory structures, parking, landscape, signs was brought into this code as well. And then finally ending with administration. And administration basically just lays out, who does what, how do I do it, what happens when I've done it. So basically laying that out, as well as addressing any situations of nonconformities that could persist. So one of the first things you'll see is a very different use approach. This is something that is a more modern way to address uses. You'll see a global use matrix with the permitted and special uses tied to the kind of form and function of each of the districts. We've moved to a more generic use approach. You can see that in that graphic example there. Rather than listing all the different types of retail that are out there, it's all kind of summed up within the retail goods establishment. To be clear, we know there's still some uses of specific concern. Those have been brought out. They can't be part of any of these generic uses, and so they're regulated separately. And in some of those cases, those would contain standards for those uses. So basically trying to mitigate the impacts before the use gets in. And then finally addressing all the different use types: principal uses, temporary uses, accessory uses. And this is really an excerpt of the table that you can see. So it's really all of the districts, all of the uses organized into this table. This is obviously, it ends at D, so this isn't all of them. But the way that this works, ooh, geez, I didn't do that one. Okay, this is the problem. My vision's bad, so I need to see it on my computer. 2 ways into this now, which make it kind of easier for folks to deal with. Either I can take a look at the district I'm in. If I'm in the C1, I own property there. I can go down the column and I can see exactly what uses are allowed within that district. Or I want to open something, say a cultural facility. I can go across the table and see what districts would allow me to do that. So it's really user-friendly in that way, really making clear kind of what uses are allowed where. So moving into the districts, probably one of the things that you'll see is a modernization of the residential district structure, renamed to an R residential, so R1, R2, in keeping with the way modern zoning convention kind of names these districts. When we looked at it, it's objectively, the current code is just too many single-family districts, and they all have basically the same standards in A through A3. So the district assignment is kind of arbitrary, since all the standards are the same across each of those. So we looked at this, we saw that the current code makes certain exceptions for certain districts. There's exceptions if lot sizes are within a certain amount. So what we really wanted to do was clean this up. So, and then also in the multifamily, so we'll get in the full kind of list of residential. The B district is your most prominent multifamily district along 31st Street. Those areas, you've got another B1 district, which is only on a senior living facility, and a B2 district, which isn't even mapped. And to be clear, these B districts, this is why the nomenclature's weird, are all residential. So they're not they are all your multifamily districts. So this is where we ended up, really just kind of cleaning this up, looking at the existing on-the-ground conditions of development within the village of Brookfield. So you have your R1 single-family district. This is based on the A and the A1 districts in the current code. Again, single-family, these are lots that are 6,000 square feet in area. The R2 is another single-family district, so this is the A2 and the A3. These lots a little bit smaller based on the kind of what we saw in the development patterns of 5,000 square feet. The R3 brings in kind of one of those station area districts that you have. You have a lot of them, and we've really cleaned that part of it up, as well as your current B district, again, the B district being multifamily, bringing in a mix of single-family, two-family, townhouse, and small-scale multifamily going up to about 45 feet in height. And then finally, you have the R4. This is the highest density multifamily district, bringing in a little bit of that B1 that you have against your B1 is multifamily, accommodating areas of higher density townhouse as well as multifamily to a height of 60 feet. One of the little quirks you'll see in this new ordinance, which we think is a kind of a neat tool that the village can use to kind of preserve its existing development patterns, is the idea of the traditional lot. And what we found when we did analysis is sometimes people take 2,000-3,000 square foot lots and use them together, and they meet the district standards. But in a lot of cases, there are homes that are built on 3,000 square foot lots that exist right now. it's too complicated to make a district for them because they're so scattered throughout the village that what we created was what we call a traditional lot. And the traditional lot is going to memorialize all of those lots that are 3,000 square feet that have a home built on them. And so essentially it makes them conforming. It allows you, we have standards that are tailored a little bit more to the smaller lot size that you have at that 3,000 square foot. And you can't create any new ones. This is really just to memorialize the ones that exist as of the date the code's adopted, that are on the ground right now, to make things a little easier for the homeowners there. So essentially, you would not be non-conforming anymore. We've got a category that you would fit into. You'll see when you kind of look at the residential districts, we've got purpose statements assigned for everything in each of those districts to explain what they are. We clarified building height and just measure in feet at this point. So basically, we're controlling the overall height of buildings. We've added a front setback averaging provision, again, trying to get at that neighborhood character. You're looking at the lots next to you to determine what that front setback should be, so it's kind of consistent along the block. There's some very basic design standards that are incorporated. We looked at the corner side setback and created a dimension rather than the way it's controlled now, so that way you can always have a lot that is technically buildable. Simplified the rear setback, really just setting kind of what that rear setback could be. And then your current minimum green space coverage was flipped into a maximum impervious surface. So that number is really the inverse of what you have. So it's basically telling you the percentage of your lot that can have buildings and paving on it. And we've got clear rules on what's counted. We've got some bonuses if you use permeable paving. So really there's a way to control the amount of water that's coming through your lot onto other people's lots. You also will see that we've added in accessory dwelling units. This is something we talked about kind of way back when we were here with the technical report, adding them as a permitted accessory use in the R1 through the R3 districts, so they'd be accessory to single family. A lot of rules about how they would operate. They have to be on the same lot. There's only one permitted. They have to be owned by the same property owner. You can't divide them up. There's a maximum size. There's a maximum height. There's rules on where they can locate on the lot with some separate standards if you're located above a detached garage. And talking about kind of how they are designed, so things like separate entrances and all of that, and telling people, no, you cannot use a shipping container or a recreational vehicle as an ADU. Build a house. That's essentially what that rule states. For the commercial, what we did, we looked at your commercial districts and saw that they're really oriented geographically. So when you're looking at your current C1, that's really the stuff along Ogden. When you're looking at C3, that's really around the Eight Corners area. And when you're looking at C4, that's usually around 31st Streets. Right now, when you look at your current code, the regulations are very similar between all of these, but the character of them is different. Their geographies are different. So that's why we restructured the commercial districts. You do have a couple of them, too, the C2, the C6. They're not mapped. They're not on the zoning map. They're not used. There's only one little parcel that's part of C5 that somehow ended up out there. So generally what we've said is, let's just put this down into three simple commercial districts. So they have similar names, C1, C2, C3, but they're oriented in different places. So C1 now covers kind of the Eight Corners area and incorporates part of Station Area District 2. So this is really looking at a range of retail, service, and eateries that are serving the nearby residential. The C2 Commercial Corridor District is designed for areas like 31st, so this is really looking at creating a dynamic commercial corridor. There is a sub-district there that you see around the station that puts C2 at C265. Right now, what we're talking about is a difference in height of 65 feet as opposed to, I believe it's 45 feet on the base district. And then finally, C3 is now Ogden. It's the gateway into Brookfield. We want to make sure that we're addressing that specifically. So you can see here, all the commercial districts have the same height, 45 feet, except for that sub-district in the C2, which is C265, so 65 feet, with some minimum height in the C1 and C2 to get kind of buildings up as these areas develop. You'll see build-to zones, and what that is kind of a minimum, maximum setback, and you have to build within that area, bringing buildings closer to the street and those pedestrian-oriented commercial districts. Promoting a mixed-use environment by allowing residential above, as well as design standards for those developments. A little bit easier is the industrial. You have the I-1, right now the I-1, the general light industrial, generally around 47th, and then the I-2 restricted light industrial. What we've done is just really rename these and kind of tweak them just a little bit. The IMU is now what was formerly your I-1, again, that 47th Street area. It's an industrial mixed use because what you see there is kind of a mix of industrial with some commercial and things like that, so we wanted to make sure that we addressed it properly. And then the IG is the general industrial, or the former I-2. Again, renaming of the I-2 district, and it's a 50-foot height limit there. Finally, your last set of districts is, these are 3 special purpose or overlay districts. So the first is the open space. Currently, you have it as S1 and S2. It's very confusing, so we just consolidated them into one district, the OS open space districts. We created a new one, the institutional district. Now, you haven't seen that one on the map yet, but it's something that you can use kind of moving into the future for large institutional campuses, places like we're sitting right now, hospitals, if you got a college. I mean, this is what it's really intended to accommodate. And then finally, I just want to be very clear on this one. There is the sexually oriented businesses overlay district. This is current. This exists at this very moment as part of your code. This is not new. We did not make any changes to where it's allowed to go, to really any of the standards. We may have taken out a couple repetitive things like the listing of like cases that prove why you could regulate this. But the regulations that we've proposed, that we have in the draft that you're looking at, are the exact same regulations you have in place and in effect right this very moment. So all we've done is just bring it in here to make sure that we've got it kind of lined up with the other districts. So then finally, we looked at the station area, and you've got a lot of the observations on the station area was that there's a lot going on here. The districts are complex. They're difficult to understand. There's a lot of them. They have building types, which makes things a bit more confusing. And so what we really did look at was creating new downtown district. And so really what we did was we focused downtown on this area that we're all sitting in right now. So this would be the downtown area with the downtown core and the downtown transition. We brought in some key design standards, some key form standards that exist now within your station area districts to make sure that we're allowing for the type of development that the station areas were aiming for. So basically, it was a simplification to bring them into the downtown area here. So you can see here, the downtown core is the SA1 and the SA5. If you are familiar with the station area districts, downtown transition is SA4A, SA4B. And then just to note that SA6 was really, I mentioned it before, consolidated into the R3 multifamily district. So you can see here, we've got the standards for them. Looking at the core, this is where you want the majority of your height. It's looking at a 90-foot height. And the transition then whittles down, goes down to 45 feet. You can see here that you've got a lot of things that are bringing buildings closer to the street. These build-to zones, which is a minimum and a maximum. You have to build in there. A build-to percentage, how much of your building needs to sit in there. So it's really kind of building the shape of downtown through these types of controls. And you can see here just an example pulled from the code of the downtown design standards. Meant to be just not intended to illustrate any particular architecture, just kind of the bones of good building. So we also tackled, like I said, once you move past the districts and your principal uses and principal structures into everything else that occurs on the lot. And so we wanted to be kind of clear on all of these. We've incorporated the on-site development standards, so things like the site triangle at corners, so when I'm on a corner, I can see through it. I can make sure I don't hit a kid walking on a bike, or walking or biking, making sure that safety's there, prohibiting structures and utility easements, and then a cross-reference to your floodplain standards. We've added some very basic exterior lighting intended to limit light pollution and light trespass, so that's been built in. We updated and incorporated all the fence standards, so we brought them in, and you'll see in there there's a clarification by district as to where you can put a fence, how tall it can be, what can happen. Rules on mechanical equipment, where you can put it, if you put it in certain areas, if it should be screened. Same thing with refuse and recycling containers. This isn't your personal garbage can, this is the dumpster, just to be clear on that. And some basic performance standards for uses within the village. Also, we've added in permitted encroachments, so we've moved this into a table. You had some of this in your current code. This is kind of a new way to really look at this. This is the allowances for certain architectural features to extend into a required setback. So it's allowing your eaves to go maybe a little bit into your corner setback or your side setback. The intent here is really to encourage architectural interest in the building and encourage things like shadowing of the building facade. So allowing for a little bit of the bay window to come in, a little bit of the chimney. You see here in some cases it is allowed in a yard, in other cases it is not allowed in those yards. It can't encroach, it has to meet the setback. You also see some standards here that talk about how much it can go in. So when you look at eaves, it's 18 inches into that required setback. And the intent there really is just to give a little bit of leeway so that we can have room to get these great features that make houses look good. We've also included comprehensive accessory structure controls. So this is really looking at kind of all the other little things that happen. No structures in the front yard unless it specifically says you can have a very specific structure in the front yard. 5 feet from a corner lot line, 3 feet from an interior side or rear lot line. A 14-foot height unless otherwise allowed or restricted. So you'll see some of them, like detached garages, have a taller building height. The footprint cannot exceed the principal building, and standards for through lots, how we deal with accessory structure on a lot that's got 2 front yards. And you'll see here, and I'm not going to read them down, all the specific controls we have in place for accessory structures. These are the ones that have very specific things tied to them. So it may be location, it may be height, it may be, you know, kind of the size of them. So they're very specific to these different elements of these very specific accessory structures. We've also included comprehensive parking regulations. So you'll see here how you design a parking lot, how you design a parking structure, where it can locate, some elements of design and curb cuts, a reference to the electric vehicle space requirement now put down by the state of Illinois that we have to comply with, some bicycle parking requirements for larger multifamily, as well as design of commercial, or not design, but rules on commercial and recreational vehicle storage on a lot. So if you were here with us through any of this process, initially the first public draft really presented that we were going to eliminate parking minimums throughout the village. Upon discussion and the many meetings that the chairman has indicated, it was decided to kind of roll that back and let's be kind of more specific that we may need some parking requirements. In the middle of that, the state of Illinois passed the People Over Parking Act and basically said any parking within 1/2 mile of a qualifying transit station, which you have 3 of, you can't require any minimum parking. So as you're looking at these circles, these are the areas that by the state of Illinois says that you cannot require any parking. So essentially we've worked this into the code. So it's really grabbing this area here along your transit lines, and there are no requirements for parking there as per the state of Illinois. Similar to parking, landscape. So we wanted to make sure that we've got good landscape requirements in place. Many times these take place around parking lots, the exterior or the perimeter and the interior. So you see here that you've got, you know, parking lot perimeter, the rules for that. So we get some screening in place there. Parking lot interior, if you happen to have a larger parking lot, that it's got to have some trees within it, again for heat island effect and stormwater control. And then buffer yards, where you've got things that abut other incompatible uses. So where you've got, say, non-residential directly abutting a residential use, you've got a buffer yard requirement in place that requires some fencing, some landscaping to mitigate the impacts of those 2 uses upon each other. And it's the more intense use that provides the buffer yard. So in that example of non-residential hitting a residential, the non-residential would be required to provide the buffer yard. Finally, as I mentioned, we did integrate signs. It was Chapter 42. It's now part of the zoning code, and it's really tied to the form and the function of the districts. So you'll see it's been restructured to be a bit more clear. We've also been content neutral. It's very important. It came down through the Supreme Court on a series of a couple of decisions that we can't regulate the content of a sign. So you have some general standards, kind of how they need to be built, illumination controls, a list of prohibited signs, and to point out that we have prohibited pole signs, though the ones that exist now are allowed to remain. Exempt signs that don't require a permit, signs that do require a permit, and any historic signs. So that was updated to be signs of 50 years in age or older. So just to kind of give you a little bit of detail on what's exempt from a sign permit, these are the list of signs. So it would be things, and again, these all have standards regarding size, location, number around each of them. So A-frame signs, banners with a little bit longer display period based on some of the things that we've kind of seen. Construction activity, cultural historic sites, nameplates, non-commercial messages, parking lot circulation, real estate activity, and window signs, with window signs limited to 25% of the area. For the signs that require a permit, again, each of these have all kinds of controls on them, you know, the amount of area that can be covered, where they can locate, the size, all of that is covered within each of these. So things like awning signs, canopy signs, drive-through signs for drive-through facilities, electronic message signs, so those are limited to institutional and the commercial and downtown when you've got at least 50 feet of frontage and 100 feet from another electronic sign. Monument signs, marquee signs, again, commercial and downtown when you've got a certain amount of frontage, projecting signs, and wall signs. And then kind of the end result, the end stuff here, like I said, that last section of the the administration, you'll see this organized into 3 sections: the zoning administrators, the general application procedures, and then the zoning approvals and permits. We've designated the community development director as the zoning administrator. They can also designate someone within the village to, you know, make the decision for them. Very common standard. And we've addressed all these different types of approvals, many of which are very common to the state of Illinois, and that's where we get our cues. So things like amendments, special use, variance, administrative adjustment, a new process, which I will describe, site plan review, which is something that's been happening informally, but we've formalized it here, plan development, sign permits, temporary use permit, which you do have, which lived outside of zoning, and we've brought it into here. Zoning interpretation, again, something you do informally that is now just kind of brought into the code, as well as zoning appeals. So a couple things to highlight here. Plan development, a slightly new approach to this. We've separated it from special use and made it its own approval process. As it does, it allows for exemptions from district dimensional design and use regulations. But one of the things we wanted to do is to provide enhanced design and or amenities when it is used. This is a negotiation. This is, we're allowing you maybe a little extra height. Maybe we're allowing you a little bit less setback. What the village wants in return is something that provides a larger community benefit. So it's intended to be this kind of negotiation. It's going to function as an effective mechanism for leveraging high-quality development. The process for this, very similar. A pre-application conference is required. P&Z review and a public hearing, which makes a recommendation, goes to the village board for approval. And then we've laid out ways for administrative, minor, and major changes for PDs that have been already approved. And the new one, a new approach that was brought in based on discussions with staff, and this might be new to you all, was the proposal of an administrative adjustment. And this is basically just to give the zoning administrator a little bit of leeway before heading into full variance territory of certain things that they can provide either reduction or increase of, you know, based on how the site is being developed. So you can see here, setbacks no more than 10%, lot coverage an increase no more than 5%, maximum impervious no more than 5%, lot area, lot width, a reduction of not more than 5%, a little bit of wiggle room on parking space and drive aisle dimensions, kind of based on the site, as well as landscape and buffer dimensions. You can change 10% of the width of an area, provided you're still providing the same amount of landscaping as required by the code. So got one more. So finally, we've tried to really match up everything as best we could. Like I said, this district structure is really based on us studying kind of what's on the ground here. But like anything, you've got nonconformities that may exist, may continue to exist, may happen in the future. And so we need to have the rules for those. What we've done for nonconforming uses, we maintain the abandonment time period of 6 months. So basically you abandon for 6 months, you lose your right to the nonconforming use. This is the current standard that you have in place right now. But what we did do when we looked at and saw that there may be legal residential uses within the districts, you know, maybe a two-family that's sitting in a single-family district, that we would deem them conforming and essentially allow those to continue so that they're not penalized. It's a natural type of residential that you have in place. So it's not, you would not be non-conforming, you would be deemed conforming and working with those district standards. For a non-conforming structure, basically, if you apply for a building permit within 1 year, you'd be allowed to rebuild. We do have a couple exceptions, the first being for that new build-to zone. So if you look at that, there's a little bit of wiggle room there, basically understanding it's a new provision that we've put in place. And because this seems to be very common here in Brookfield, again, a little bit of an exception for steps and stoops that currently go too far into the yard. So basically allowing you to rebuild so that you don't have to do something wonky. Non-conforming lots of record, so these would be all those things that kind of fall under that traditional lot once you're below that 3,000 square feet, allowing them to be built upon without special approval. Non-conforming site elements, this could be my parking lot design, this could be landscape, rules for how those are treated. And then finally, non-conforming signs, setting a 50% value threshold so that when it is damaged, it cannot be rebuilt. So basically, when I exceed that, I have to build a sign that meets the sign standards of the new code. And again, one more little permission, understanding this is primarily a residential, village. You've got a lot of single family here. What we've done here is allowed for when you have a single family dwelling that, say, encroaches a little bit too much into the side yard. This would allow them to kind of perhaps put a second floor on it without having to bump back that second story to meet the side setback. Now, I want to be very clear here, this is only for that setback, so you can't violate anything else that's in that district. It can't make it higher than the district allows. You can't have more coverage than the district allows. This is really just to allow you to build an addition onto your home in line with the rest of your house. So not making you bump it back, not making you get a variance. It's really a key way to kind of preserve existing housing stock and make it kind of more valuable into the future to be able to continue to use it as people would like kind of more room in their homes. So I think part of the reason why many people are here, and we'd like to kind of clear this up, as part of this, as I've talked about, a whole new district structure, we really do need to go through and kind of make equivalences and where zoning districts would line up where the new districts line up with the old ones. So basically it's an equivalence. A lot of this I've kind of gone through as we've talked about the residential and we talked about the commercial and the industrial and the open space. Institutional's a new district, it's not yet on the map. But then you see where it happens with all these different it's really 7, because 4A, 4B, 7 station areas, how they translate into kind of the areas you've got. What's important is we reoriented station areas into the downtown. So the downtown really centers in this area we're at. So that is the DC and the DT, which is looking at station area 1, station area 4A, station area 4B. And station area 5 is also DC. So then as we looked at the Brookfield Zoo Station and the Congress Station, really looking at those, they had to transition into other commercial districts because they were zoned station area districts. So we needed to equivalence them. So where we could, we did that. And so that is probably the map and the notice that you received. This is the map. So you can see here in the core, let's just start kind of with the middle section here. You've got the downtown core, the downtown transition. Most of that was equivalenced except for one little parcel there that's the post office. Another one that is part of something, I believe, just across the way that is more appropriate as DC because of the way the lotting patterns is. And then as you kind of look at these in the kind of Brookfield Zoo, it was rezoned to the C1. And as it was looked at on the other side, it was rezoned to the C265 and C2. So again, C2 has those 2 height districts. A couple of the things that we'd like to bring up to the commission for consideration that came to our attention kind of following the release of this document is as we kind of looked at the Hollywood Station, what we realized is there's some existing townhomes and multifamily within there, which is not part of the way the C1, the C2s are structured. we would make the recommendation for your consideration to direct us that those could be amended back to the R4. So they would be the townhouse and multifamily within the Hollywood Station, would just go back to the R4, which would make them conforming, basically make them what they are. Similarly, Congress Park, there is existing multifamily along Burlington and do you say Du Bois or Dubois? It's Chicago. It's Des Plaines. So Dubois. Okay, we're French. I get it. So where you've got the existing multifamily along there, to bring that back into the R3, that's another from the staff and myself that we would put for consideration, so that way they're not in a non-conforming status. There is an area along Blanchan that is, there's a couple single family and things there. Our recommendation is that it stays C265. It is currently Station Area 3, which is the multifamily stuff that's in there, that it should remain as that. And then our last recommendation is in the C265, not the C2, but C265. As we looked at it a little bit more deeply, this is not necessarily a mapping issue, but something we would like you to consider, is that we allow for multifamily within the C265 because it would be a bit more compatible with the comprehensive plan that allows for multifamily residential development in that area. And Libby, did I get everything? Yeah, that would be multifamily. Yeah, so the full multifamily, so you wouldn't have to have mixed-use development. And so with that, again, I'm happy to repeat those 3 recommendations. You know, it's always fun to spring things on you at a public hearing. Really what we would like to present as recommendations, and this is, again, there is the brookfieldcodeupdate.com website, obviously still taking comments all the time. And with that, that is the end of my presentation.
Okay. If anybody wants to sit, there's probably half a dozen seats up in front. So again, for those of you who haven't been here, this is our chance for our commission to ask questions of the applicant, which in this case is the village, and then we'll turn it over to public comment. So commissioners, questions of the petitioner at this point?
So I think we've spent hours going over all of those things that, you know, have been outlined. It's, for me, it's these 4 things that have just been brought up. If we can go into a little deeper explanation, maybe bring up some graphics so that, you know, commissioners can understand them more deeply, the public can understand that more deeply before we make any decisions.
Trying to get to the map. I might be messing with you. It's like the second,
There it is.
there we go. Okay.
Maybe we can go through these and just talk through, again, existing, what that changes and what that looks like for that area. I think that's helpful.
Okay.
Your first was Hollywood Station, right?
Great. Do you want me to explain, or?
Yes.
Okay. There are, in that area, there are some existing townhomes and multifamily. What we've got there on the, what did we zoned it? Hollywood would be C1. C1 doesn't allow for multifamily or townhomes. It only allows for residential above to create a mixed-use, small-scale pedestrian mixed-use environment. The intent here is we don't want to make these existing townhomes and multifamily in the area non-conforming, so the recommendation or suggestion that we're posing to you all is to take them out of C1 and just rezone those parcels or to zone those parcels as R4, which is your multifamily district.
Those areas that are then remain under what the proposal was, some of those are commercial as it stands right now, correct? So
It's all commercial. It's
brings
your
them
old
into
station area district.
So it brings
so-
them into
Yeah.
conforming use, whereas currently they're non-conforming. Thank you. So then Congress Park, again, if we can go talk that through a little bit more as well, the purpose of change and what we've seen there.
So the Congress Park one, again, a very similar situation. There are some existing multifamily along Burlington and Dubois. And the recommendation there, again, is to take those and move them because because it's there to allow them as R3, which would be kind of make them conforming. So it's very similar as to take them and make them conforming.
The third that you talked about, it was Blanchard, I believe, that you had mentioned.
Right. So kind of in that area that we have converted it to C2 is this area of Blanchan. We're not recommending any change. We're recommending the proposal as it was put forward to stay as C2 because it was the SA3. It's currently zoned the SA3, the Station Area 3 district, which doesn't allow for single family now. And essentially, so that would remain, nothing would change.
Nothing would change between the two.
Between the two. If it wasn't allowing single family before, this still doesn't, with no change, it doesn't, with our proposal, it still doesn't allow for single family.
So it remains. Thank you. And then I think a little deeper discussion around that C265, I think is warranted, and, you know, that maybe from the planner, from Scott, you know, or Libby, that area where it currently stands right now, why that's looked at differently, may be helpful for commissioners and those that are here with us tonight.
Well, I think as the commission may recall, we've had lots of discussion with lots of developers over the last year or so, 2 years, Libby tells me, to develop those properties. The village owns most of that land there, you know, where the Metro lot is and those existing apartment buildings that are now empty because the village has acquired them. And so the thought was, with the proximity to the metro station, to have a little bit higher density. And so going from 45 to 65 feet there, that's really the only change.
Well, allowing the multifamily.
Well, allowing the multifamily. Yeah. When we began this exercise 2.5 years ago, there was a thought about mixed use there. What Libby has found over the last 2 years in her dealings with potential developers is that going up, not Blanchard, but Dubois, I guess, going up Dubois, there's not a real market analysis doesn't make retail viable there. You know, the knee jerk is, oh, you're by the train station, you know, we can recreate the zoo stop or whatever, Hollywood stop. And it's just not going to happen in this current day. So the thought there was just do multiple family and without going off on a tangent, there's some folks that are interested in that without the first floor retail. And that's really the reason we've made the C265 and then the changes that Arista just mentioned relative to multifamily or mixed use if someone does come forward with that.
So in that district, we see that there can be a change in size and density. In these other three that we talked about, what changes would we see in that? Would there be significant change that you see as far as creating more densely populated areas in each of those three? The other areas, yes?
No, just this one, you know, the Hollywood stop or whatever, no.
Okay.
It all stays basically as is.
Right. That concludes my questions for now. Thank you.
Anyone else at this point? Okay. I'll open it up to the public. As we've done in the past, I'm going to ask very cordially. You're welcome to come and speak. Let us know your name and address, please. And if you speak on a particular topic and 3 people later, please don't speak on that topic again. You know, if it's parking, we've had this many times in the past where 10 people speak about the same thing, and we hear that, we take it under advisement. So if you could be cordial in that respect, that would be appreciated. because we don't put a time limit on your comments like other villages do, because we're very friendly up here. So who would like to start? Come right up.
My name is Ian Braun. I'm the son of the resident at 4006 Deo, Patricia Braun here. Just got a couple of questions for you guys. So first, more of a general one, but why is the village doing this overall? Is it, like, what's the benefit to the public, if you will?
I'll answer that. Sure. It's time. Many of us have been on this commission for 20 years plus, and we've gone through amendment after amendment after amendment after amendment after amendment, where it gets to the point where, frankly, there's many architects on this commission, you lose track of it. As simple as that. So this is a way to organize everything, and zoning codes change over time. It's a fluid document. That's what I call them. And hence why we still have variances and needs for people to come to address us if there's the language in the code isn't clear. So it's time. It's simple as that.
Clarify them, so it makes sense.
And the the bones of this is from 1962.
Okay.
Right? That's a long time. And so over that time, with all of those changes that occur, it's even hard for staff to go back and find where this memorializes and gives us our next. And in 50 years, maybe we come back.
Right. Okay, that's great. What type of effect will this have on taxes, like from property taxes, like being increased, I'm assuming, senior freezes? Is that still going to be something that would be applicable to somebody that's like affected in one of these?
We're not qualified to answer that, so I'll turn it over to staff if they want to answer it.
The zoning of your lot is not, it's what's developed on your lot that's taxed, not necessarily what the zoning is. You're taxed on how your lot is developed. So this isn't going to necessarily, if your districts change, it's not necessarily going to change your taxing. It depends on what gets built on that lot, and they assess the value of the building that's built on the lot.
Okay. So to summarize, though, if you are currently having a senior freeze and you're, let's say, in C2.
This doesn't, if you have a senior freeze, that's a whole thing with Cook County.
Okay. So they would be unaffected, or?
I kind of not following the question.
Would somebody who's currently benefiting from a senior freeze for the property taxes be affected by any type of rezoning?
No.
Okay. So property taxes should more or less stay the same?
Except for
That depends on who does
reassessment
property
from the county.
taxes. The
This
zoning
do
doesn't
that.
change property taxes.
The county is the one who assesses, right?
Okay.
So the zoning doesn't do anything.
The county doesn't care about your zoning. The county cares about what you built on your property.
Okay. Okay. I think those were the two questions I had that were most pertinent, at least. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is the Reverend Vicki Carthanassis. I am coming to talk about the Congress Park rezoning and some really confusing mail that a bunch of us received from the village. So I have it printed out all bigger here for you guys. I'm going to show it to everybody back here. See this area right here that's yellow is the area I'm talking about. So this area here in Du Bois and Deo that we were talking about earlier, as you can see on the map, it's the same map that's up there. It has us still as R1, which is what we are right now. We're a residential area. But we received this notice in the mail from Brookfield saying that these specific addresses were going to change their designation. And it has that whole area that's in yellow changing to C2 designation, which is commercial zoning, which seems to contradict both the map and then also what was being explained to us here at this meeting. Nowhere in this meeting or on the map has C2 been lifted up for that area. But this is something that was printed up and sent to some residents in the mail that we received for our specific addresses. So I just wanted clarification on which one of these two very conflicting pieces of information are being used for zoning and what the board is voting on. Is it this map or is it this list that I could not find online anywhere?
It is on this map.
Okay, so this list specifically tells us to come to this meeting for the new zoning code and says that these addresses are impacted by it. So like, my house is on it, as is all of my block, so
Our answer would be found by village staff. Did village staff send that?
it came on village letterhead and
Right, I'm
in the
asking.
envelopes.
I'm asking for you.
I'm gonna let you guys.
I could give you a copy if you'd.
It does the legal notice, and it's the map, you know, it's the map, and what we're saying tonight, that's,
Okay.
God willing, they'll vote on, one way or the other.
So just-
Not the error in in that list of addresses.
Okay, so just to clarify on the record, because this notice says 4009 Du Bois Boulevard, 4017 Du Bois Boulevard, 4019 Du Bois Boulevard, 4023 Du Bois Boulevard, 4008 Deo Avenue, 4012 Deo Avenue, 4018 Deo Avenue, and 4024 Deo Avenue are all changing to C2 designation despite the map saying otherwise. Can you confirm that all of those addresses are remaining R1 consistently with what the map shows?
The map is controls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure, the list is, the map is what's proposed.
Okay, so this notice was an error, not the map.
Correct.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I agree.
You know,
Good evening.
just
Thank
as
you
a-
for this opportunity to
Dan, if I
address
could
you.
just interrupt for a second. You know, we have to send notices out to everybody within 250 feet of the properties that are being rezoned. So the properties to the west of those houses on Dale are being rezoned, so that's all.
But I,
No, so, right, so the map controls.
The map rules,
Map rules.
Yes, the map is ruling for what, the map that you're seeing here and the one that's published on the website that shows these are the proposed zoning changes. If you are in R1 light yellow, you are R1 light yellow. We are not proposing any changes that are not indicated on this map.
okay. Next up, let the speaker have your attention, please. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be at a zoning hearing in person. I've been doing them virtually for the last 10 years almost, and it's nice to see people live. My name's Daniel Lauber. I'm a city planner and a zoning and fair housing attorney. I was a planner for 11 years before I went temporarily insane for 3 and got a law degree. I am a past president of the American Planning Association and twice of the American Institute of Certified Planners. I'm here representing homeowners Chandra Plepel and Mary Slesser, who live on the 8500 block of Brookfield Avenue. We're addressing the staff recommendation to place the multifamily building and the 10 row houses on this block in the R4 district. This is immediately north of the Brookfield Zoo Station, rather than the C1 district, which it was originally mapped to, because of an oversight that any planner would make. And that is not realizing that if in the C1 district, these would be legal non-conforming uses, and it would be impossible to sell these homes when the time comes to sell them. And if they were sufficiently damaged or destroyed by accident, they probably couldn't be rebuilt. As a R4 district, these will be permitted uses. The problem arises, and this is for, I want to make it really clear, this is a really important set of row houses and multifamily buildings. These row houses are a very rare thing in this day and age. They are naturally occurring affordable housing that enables households with modest incomes to live in Brookfield and the village's seniors to continue to live in the village. The proposed new zoning code and map before you places these in the C1 district, which prohibits dwellings except above the ground floor. These homes would become legal non-conforming uses in that situation, which negatively affects their viability and the ability of the homeowners to sell their homes. And the value of their homes would just plummet because it would be very difficult, if not impossible, for a potential purchaser to obtain a mortgage loan that is a legal non-conforming use. So I'm going to explain this because I don't like going up and making some assertion without explaining the basis of it. That's not fair. The bottom line is Freddie Mac currently will not purchase mortgages for non-conforming residential uses. So about half the potential market is eliminated right there. At the moment, Fannie Mae will purchase mortgages for non-conforming residential uses, but there's no guarantee it will continue that policy. Nor would Fannie Mae, though, be receptive to mortgages for non-conforming use given the proposed zoning code's provisions regarding damage or destruction of a non-conforming use. And the language they've proposed to use is very fair. It allows up to a year after the date of the damage or destruction of a home that's a non-conforming use to apply for a building permit. There's a couple of catches to this. One, it says it's through no fault of the property owner or tenant, which is too broad. I'm sure the language was intended to prevent someone committing arson, to burn down a legal non-conforming use and then wanting to rebuild it much more modern and more valuable. This would include, you wouldn't be able to rebuild if you knocked over a candle, if you had an oven fire, if your Christmas lights caught fire and it damaged the house. There's also the problem that it allows just a year to apply for the building permit, but insurance companies these days, as you very well might be aware, are taking more than a year to pay off on damage and replacing an entire house. And when you submit a building permit, normally, I don't know if Brookfield does this, but normally you also have to submit architectural drawings. Those are not cheap. And the people with modest incomes living in these homes that couldn't possibly be built today and be affordable still would not be able to afford the architect, so they never could get the permit applied for at the time. I also learned that and this is confirmed, we got in touch with an underwriter who cautions that Fannie Mae would look unfavorably on the proposed one-year time limit for applying for the building permit because of the problem of getting insurance. Now, as you know, zoning is a tool to implement the village's comprehensive plan and should be in compliance with the comprehensive plan, which is what the staff and the consultant have attempted to do. I want to add right here, your staff has been very responsive and responsible about these concerns. This is irreplaceable, naturally occurring affordable housing, enabling it to continue to be viable and sellable, because this is, as it is for most people, just about everyone in this room, your home is the biggest investment you're ever going to make. This is your source of wealth for when you retire so you can afford the high costs of retirement living. It enables people to age in place. It's fulfilling the comprehensive plan's aims on pages 75 to 78 to facilitate aging in place and for the housing to reflect the range of lifestyles and incomes within the community, among other aims on that page, those pages. The plan states, and I'll quote, "It is important for the village to allow innovative land uses to allow its elderly population to independently live in their homes and communities safely and comfortably regardless of their socioeconomic background. The plan offers a strategy. Ensure senior residents are able to stay in their homes." There are senior residents in these row houses on the 8500 block of Brooklyn Avenue. So I urge you as strongly as possible to accept the staff recommendation here to zone this area as R4, which will make them permitted uses. Buyers can get mortgages. They can rebuild if a candle tips over and it burns down. And they will indeed be able to have viable and sellable homes that will continue to contribute to the village's diversity of residents. I'm happy to answer any questions you have in my capacity as both an urban planner and zoning attorney. And I hope that and at your next hearing, if we answer everything here, there won't be any need to testify at the second hearing. But again, I want to emphasize, Libby and Scott have been really responsive on this. And I got to tell you, I've been a planner and zoning lawyer for a long time, and it's very rare to get staff to be responsive this late in the zoning process. It's something anybody would overlook. And I think it's really cool that Chanda and Mary both realized there was a potential problem if they were their homes were becoming legal non-conforming uses. So thank you very much. And again, happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you.
Can I ask staff to confirm that that is one of the properties that your intent is to rezone as R4?
Yes, that was the first example we talked about. That's the recommendation we made, the first one.
Hello, sir.
Oh, hello, my name's Robert Conso. I live at 713 Beach in LaGrange Park. Brookfield is the first place I moved when I did move to the area. I am currently the owner of 2 apartment buildings in Brookfield. A 2-unit building built around 1928 and a 6-unit building around 1935. I've reviewed the public hearing draft in the zoning code, specifically Article 18 for nonconformities. I'm pretty sure my properties were built per the current zoning code at the time, whatever that may have been, and have noticed now they're located in the areas that are zoned residential per the proposed zoning map. I believe it's residential area R1. So, given the fact that I believe they are non-conforming, and I read section 18.1A, authority to continue, it says, may continue subject to the provisions of this article so long as it remains otherwise legal. So I believe they're all legal. They've been here for 36 and 46 years since I've owned the buildings. My only question is in the future, when I need to sell the properties, that based on what I've read, that I'll be able to do so with no legal issues being raised with regard to them being located in residential zone areas. I know this may be repetition from the previous one, but a little bit different. So I believe I'd be able to sell in the future with no issues related to their location as long as I don't alter or add onto the buildings, keep up the maintenance, keep it up to code and everything. I'd just like to have some reassurance from you that I'm reading the code correctly, and yes, I would be able to sell the properties in the future with no legal issues being raised based on their location. So they're located on Blanchard Avenue. One is north of Ogden and one is south of Ogden Avenue, not in the commercial areas or anything. Strictly residential, and probably one of the first buildings in the area is being built. So,
Staff?
Okay, couple things. So I'm not looking at a map, so I have to take your word for it. In this situation, based on what you're telling me, you have 2 apartment buildings located within an R1 district. General area, okay. I'm going off what you're showing me. There's a 6 flat in here and there's a 2 flat in here. Okay. They are legal non-conforming uses, so you are 100% correct that you can continue. You missed part G, which is, should have kept reading. You would have been happier. Non-conforming residential uses deemed conforming. Residential dwelling types not allowed within the residential districts as of the effective date are deemed conforming when you can show they were legally permitted. So essentially, you are not even non-conforming. We have deemed you conforming. So until you tear those buildings down.
I don't plan to do.
Okay, I'm not answering that question.
All right.
Those are deemed conforming. They are not considered non-conforming uses. We've tried to, because you have this natural density that's occurred, just kind of like, other suburbs around here that are closer. You can continue. You're not going to have any problems. You're actually deemed conforming in terms of those uses.
And just going back to the previous speaker, between Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and all that, are they? I don't know anything about that.
I don't want to comment on any of that, but basically when you're showing this and, when you go and you show this to your bank, you're not considered a non-conforming use, you're considered a deemed conforming use. So you are conforming.
So that G, what was that article there then?
It was, if you kept reading under uses, it's the last one, it's G.
Okay.
And you're right, you're in the right article, you're in Article 18.
Okay.
Just keep reading the rest of the way through uses.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Appreciate the opportunity and feedback also.
Hello, my name is Mary Slesher, and I live at 8502 and a half. I've never had an address like that before. Brookfield, right across from the zoo stop. I was alarmed when I saw the signs and realized it wasn't about parking, it was about our development. I'm very concerned about not being able to sell my property for more than I paid for it. I mean, I moved here, for now I'm okay, but if I need to go assisted living, I'm gonna need to get a good price for my home, and I don't want to have that pool of buyers cut short because they can't get residential mortgages. That's one of my greatest concerns. I guess that's it. The financial aspect is my greatest concern. It's a lovely development. A lot of people don't even know it's there. And it's, you know, a mid-century development. I don't think there's any other development like that within this village or Riverside. So, but it's the concern, the restrictions that I might not be able to rebuild if more than 50% of my property was destroyed by accident. I'm not gonna burn it. And if buyers are limited to commercial. Also, it would change the very character of the neighborhood. I moved here from Riverside because it's a much more pleasant, family-oriented community. Personally, I'm driving less and less, so it's really nice to be able to walk over to the train. But the finances and the character of the neighborhood, those are really my concerns. I want to be able to sell if I need to. Okay, thank you. And I'm very impressed with how easily you worked with Dan. It was amazing to me. This is great. I feel the community in the room here, but thank you.
Hi, my name is Shonda Pleppel. I live at 8514 Brookfield Avenue. I'm a homeowner. I have been for years. I moved to Brookfield when my son was going into first grade. I love the community. I'm a vested homeowner here. My son is now turning 22 next month. He goes to Harvey Mudd College. Thanks to the great school district here, it is just, he's flourished. I love the community, and the zoning change would greatly prohibit me from being able to remain in the community, and I want to stay here. It's affordable housing for me, and it should be for future people as well, to be able to live in this community. It shouldn't just be for people that have more money. I'm not destitute. I've always had a job. I've always worked full-time. I'm college educated. I just am one of those people that I don't have a ton of money, but I've worked very hard and was adamant about raising my son here in Brookfield. I did my due diligence to buy my property here, and now I'm being told that it's going to be rezoned to C1, and it's a residential property. It's my son's childhood home. Every single memory he has is here. And why wouldn't you want that to continue for other people's children and families? There are 10 units on the 8500 block of Brookfield that we're owner occupants. We take pride. I have a patio up front. I have gardens. I have pets. I walk to the farmer's market. This is my home, and I feel like it may have been an oversight, but please don't take my home, and please don't change it. It's residential. It should be residential. And I love being by the Hollywood train station. I love, I've used it to commute to my job back and forth downtown. I understand, and I understand about wanting to have commercial districts and viability. I want Brookfield to flourish for years to come. So please, please reconsider, and please take the proposal and take it into consideration. I thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just going to reiterate for the people out in the lobby, there are still seats out front if you guys want to come into the room, just so you can hear better.
Good evening. My name is Colette Luchetta Stendel. I'm an attorney, and I manage and represent the owner of several properties along Ogden Avenue. I would like to ask a couple questions to clarify some of the provisions of the zoning code that the village plans to adopt. My reading of the zoning ordinance shows that all of the automotive vehicle-related businesses with service or repair along Ogden Avenue will not be permitted uses under the new zoning ordinance, but they will be special permits on the zoning ordinance. This would affect approximately, I think, 18 businesses, of which a couple of the buildings that my client owns involve. So my question is, this special use would require approval from the village, is that correct?
Yes.
So the current uses would no longer be automatically permitted, is that correct?
I don't know if you want me.
If it's an
I'm-
automobile.
Yeah, you can answer that, because I know how you're going to answer it.
Okay. So essentially what we've said here, so if they have switched, and I just wanted to actually quote the exact language, which is in Article 1, is that, okay, let me read this. So when you had a permitted use and it became a special use, it becomes a special use, and any subsequent addition, enlargement, or expansion requires special use approval and is subject to any new use standards required by this code. So they continue, they're just now a special use, and if they're changed, then they need to come in for a special use approval.
Will they need approval when the building is sold? They will not need approval just to sell the building itself, if it's staying the same as it is?
No, I mean, yeah, this is basically saying if you're changing anything, you're coming in for a special use. If you're just changing ownership, that's not the concern of the code.
And they say the business changes owner, because I know the businesses have to register and get approval every year with the village, correct? So is this an
That I don't
annual
know.
thing that will have to be approved every year? I'm just asking.
No, not
because-
for the special use.
Okay, thank you. I'm just trying to clarify. And then, so this should not, what you're saying is it shouldn't affect existing building owners or existing business owners along the corridor? Okay. And my other concern is that these buildings and businesses would become non-conforming uses. So this doesn't, would this, and I know, I read the read 1.4, but I'm just trying to clarify to make sure. This does not then put these businesses into non-conforming use.
The way that we've written it, they become special uses.
Okay, and the special uses do not automatically become a non-conforming use.
No.
So the only time the village has to approve the special use is when there's a zoning question? I'm asking the village, I guess.
I mean, it's when you're changing anything, addition, enlargement, or expansion. So you make it bigger, you're gonna have to come in for a special use.
But not if say the business was sold in the different ownership.
The ownership is irrelevant to that.
Ownership as well. Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Chris Watland. I have a business at 9039 Monroe Avenue. And I would just like to propose a change to the version 3, the latest version. The last version didn't require on-site parking, and the newest version does. And I'm proposing specifically in the 8 Corners area, potentially not having an on-site parking requirement due to the fact that it has plenty of parking on Broadway. And I think it creates massive friction in the process, in the economic development process for businesses coming in to choose to work in Brookfield, because the first step is to calculate how many spots you get for this spot based on 200 square feet. And then you look at Google Maps and count the spots, and you find that there's not enough spots. And then you move to the next village, not knowing that the traditional approach is to go through a variance procedure. If there were specific concerns from V2, is there a way to look at how we could potentially find a win-win between the committee's concerns and the business's concerns? At one point, someone noted that a concern was around a multi-level mixed-use commercial and residential buildings, feeling that they should have on-site parking, and that makes total sense. Maybe there could be more laser-focused regulations around the specific concerns, because I think it's really going to help for economic development to let businesses look at the chart, say this is an approved use, and be welcomed right in without having all this friction throughout the process and having to sign a lease with a contingency based on the outcome of a variance proceeding. I also think it stifles investment and improvements in your property, because every time there's a new tenant, you kind of reassess the whole the whole landscape of how many spots you're allowed, and then having meetings with the staff to kind of work out what adjacent spots might be appropriate. So I just want to see what the concerns are with the V2, specifically in the Eight Corners area. Now, especially now that the public over private parking ordinance is passed, the majority of Brookfield is now not required to have that parking. Could we make it the same for Eight Corners, an area that we're trying to encourage investment in and develop economically?
Could you state the address again?
It's 9039 Monroe Avenue.
Monroe, thank you.
Staff, do you want to respond to that? I can give a historic response.
You can start with the historic response.
Okay, I will say in the Eight Corners District, we've had many business owners come to us with that specific question because in many cases, there are no parking spots that they can even consider. And I will say, and again, this is just historically, no promise it can happen every time, but I would say in all cases that were presented to us, we've given parking variances for the eight corners because of all the street parking there. So, now.
To further that, we just saw a planned development come before us for a restaurant at the former Brookfield Bowl site. They needed additional parking. There were provisions given for them. While I understand as a developer, right, or a business owner, the goal for that is maximize what you can. The problem with some of these districts, and we've had these conversations at 6 previous meetings, and parking is always the most contentious. For however many people are here tonight to talk about, the map overlays mostly, our meetings that have the most people is about parking. And where exactly does that parking happen? It's actually right at the abutting of residential to commercial, because when your patrons come to that building, where do they go? Is there enough parking? Now they're into the community. Then the residents are saying, why is my parking being taken away from me? This is the charm and character of Brookfield. So what we've tried to do is balance that. And when you have change in businesses, there is a process for you to come to say, here's what I'm looking to do. Here's what I need afforded. And it allows the community too to come out and say, I agree with that. Do you think that you could maybe do that? Kind of like we're seeing tonight. So I think that's the balance that we've tried to have when we've done this. And as far as the first proposal that was brought before us, it lifted all parking restrictions across the entire village. And there were very few people on this board that saw that as a positive for the character of the community. And so that shaped kind of how we applied the parking to this specific code or zoning update.
Just as a brainstorming, would it potentially, it's a labor-intensive process of having all those meetings. I'm just wondering if there's an alternative, was there potentially have permanent parking, which a lot of cities do, when it abuts a residential area, have permanent parking only for those residents, so there's just no business parking whatsoever, exclusively for them, and then there's just kind of supply and demand access to whatever's available, Broadway, and then people could look at other means of transport. It seems like that might be a more streamlined approach to limit your work on your side, but also for businesses wanting to come in, they can just have an easy understanding of what the uses are approved and come right in.
Yeah, I think the next step to that is, right, that you get put in, and we have that. It exists in the village, especially around what used to be our train routes with commuter parking encroaching into residential, and then we're chasing stickers, and our police department is then going around to make sure who's there, who's not, and it becomes an enforcement issue, which can become burdensome on police department and the residents that are abutting. Again, that's just a historical perspective of the application of that and what we've seen in the past.
I see. So you just kind of want to have your finger on the pulse of what's happening with the business coming on and moderate those, how much activity is happening in terms of parking. And you may be open to ideas of like using land for other purposes and not for parking space. You just want to kind of hear it out and be able to make a decision on that. Because I think there's some other land uses outside of like building a $200,000 parking lot that are higher value for the residents and for customers, new experiences that are not parking related, so.
Well, and I think we've even gone so far in previous meetings to say, like with that proposal on Maple there, which is all within that district, that at times there is a lot of shared parking there, right? It's not an overcrowded parking area through different times of the day, and the village provides the majority of the parking in that area, and so there wasn't necessarily that need in that specific area that you talk about to limit what that petitioner was doing. But when it becomes so dense, that's our hope, right? That
Yeah.
our commercial areas really do continue to grow and to take off, then you may need to have a pulse check. Are we in the right spot? What do we need to do now? I'm speaking for myself, I'm not speaking for the board, but I think that's some of the conversation that's occurred when we've seen petitioners come up and that have a similar concern to you.
If it were maybe not a problem currently, could it be the inverse where we start with allowing, not requiring on-site parking and then rein it in when business is booming and there's a parking issue, change it at that time, potentially?
And then I would stop my conversation there because I think that would be something that would have to be discussed in the planning and zoning meeting coming up.
Okay.
But I was just giving you the historical perspective to piggyback on Chairman Grund, but thank you for that consideration.
And I guess my last question would be a specific one around, does anything in the parking lot zoning trigger a development of a parking lot? Like, let's say there's you're one short of the number of on-site spots you need, and you have a gravel lot, so you have to build a $200,000 parking lot in your backyard.
I think staff would be more apt to answer that than me.
I'm not sure I follow.
The question is that there's now requirements for how parking lots are designed and all the features, the water management and all that.
Right.
And if you're short on on-site parking spots for like the majority of the categories, office, amusement, are you required to build a parking lot? If let's say it's gravel currently, and the standards require, a specific design for
I mean,
the parking lot.
are you talking about if it exists right now?
If you got space, gravel space, are you required to like bring that up and build an expensive parking lot?
There's nothing that triggers that until you start doing improvements, like expanding. If you expanded the building, then you're gonna have to, there's a way you may have to bring the parking lot
So
into
that would be the only
compliance.
scenario is if you expand the footprint of the building where you'd be required to build a proper concrete parking lot.
I believe so. Hold on, I have to find it. I don't wanna speak out of turn. So for site development, a non-conforming site element, so, no. So we have standards for non-conforming parking lot. So that's basically there's provision specifically for adding the landscaping. Non-conforming site elements must be brought into conformance when a new principal building is constructed on a site or an existing principal building is increased in building footprint square footage by 30% or more. So if you increased your footprint or you built a new building, you're by 30%, expanded by 30% or more, you're gonna have to bring the parking lot into conformance or get a variance.
Right. And the last reason I brought that up is because I think that in our backyard, instead of turning into a parking lot, it could be a space for a new user experience for residents and for customers. But your point is that you just want to know about it and approve it as the idea comes to you versus kind of having an avenue to do that. Because if on-site parking wasn't required, then I would feel comfortable investing in like a new experience, but with uncertainty around approval. Even if it was approved for a new tenant, and you built something back there, they might later require, if a new tenant comes in, the new use, potentially tearing that out or something like that, because it doesn't. So you can't get the confidence to invest.
Okay, I want to stop here for a moment. This is getting very specific, and it sounds like it's specific to maybe one of your properties. As you've heard from all the people tonight, staff is very, very user-friendly here. So I think if there's specific questions, maybe you call staff and address them and get your questions answered. Because we're trying to take this global look, so to speak, and I don't want to cut you off, but, you know, if you have specific questions about specific single spots or 2 spots in property you own, staff will be more than happy to go over it with you.
I completely understand. The only reason I thought it was global is because I think that applies to anybody who wants to invest in some improvements around the property they're building.
Right. And generally
Generally
speaking,
speaking, that could,
if I was in your shoes, or if I was a developer, the first call I would make is to staff and say, this is what I'm anticipating, this is what I'd like to do. What can I do? What can I do? What are my options? And then they'll work through it with you.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's my proposal, is that I think that more investment will come more fluidly by making, by not having any barriers there, but respect whatever the committee
Understood.
feels is the best
Yep.
approach. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Guy Adami at 8513 Rockefeller Avenue. I'm not a lawyer, not a planner, so I might ask a stupid question. Is it true anything designated as R4 can be as high as 60 feet? Is that correct?
Sorry. The R4, the maximum height for multifamily would be 60 feet. For a townhouse or non-residential would be 45 feet.
Okay, and this is where I have a naive question. Does that mean that a building or group of buildings on adjacent lots, if torn down, can they be replaced by something that takes up more than one lot? Yeah.
I'm not sure I follow.
In other words, if there's 4 lots that are adjacent that are R4, you know, and they're all sold at once, can they be replaced by a larger building that takes up more than one lot?
Yes, by the principle of a zoning lot, which is I'm the same owner of these 4 lots. They're all contiguous and they're all in the same zoning district. That would allow you to build to the standards of the district. So there are things like setbacks and coverage and impervious surface that would apply even if it is, you know, a larger lot.
Right, okay, so that's all I had to ask. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Monica Fogarty. I live at 3503 Hollywood. I'm here regarding the potential use of public place of amusement under a C1 zone. I'm curious if the current SA4B allows public place of amusement, such as a entertainment venue, charging tickets at the door. It doesn't, okay. So current existing SA4B doesn't allow, does it have any parking requirements for the existing use that it has? It doesn't.
No, the SA4B has parking.
It has parking requirements?
Well, under people, under the state statute, no.
Okay.
But we can't require parking by the Hollywood or Zoo Stop anymore because of the state.
Okay, so to clarify, if a C1 zone, if the existing commercial space or commercial use spaces that are not residential on Brookfield Avenue become a C1 zone, those businesses could obtain a C1 license, such as public place of amusement venue, that would not require parking? Is that correct?
Anything within a half mile, is it half mile? Half mile of a transit station, commercial, residential, anything, per Illinois state law, we cannot require minimum parking.
Okay, so just to clarify, if a business owner decided to create a space that charged tickets or an entertainment venue in that space, they could potentially bring in more traffic to the area and more parking congestion to the area that we're already dealing with from the zoo and sometimes high school events. I think that would significantly change the character of the neighborhood. So please reconsider the C1 zone into perhaps a lesser, I don't know the right term for it, but more restrictive zone that wouldn't allow public place of amusement that would potentially draw more crowds to our small Hollywood community. Thank you.
And Libby, in an instance like that, what the village has proposed is not seeing it as such, seeing it as residential instead. Wasn't that the change proposed by you guys? Under what she just said, what was just proposed by the village at the beginning of this meeting turns that into residential, not C1, correct?
No, the C1 that we're proposing to change to R4 exists as a residential use right now.
Okay.
We're capturing the existing residential uses and switching them to a residential district.
But that doesn't encompass all the buildings, because there's a lot of mixed use, like Zubar and restaurant, yeah.
Yeah.
But it would not affect parking at all. It would still, there would be no parking requirements because you're within a half mile of the train station.
Correct.
So
So that could draw
nothing-
crowds to our neighborhood with more
Yeah.
parking issues.
And it's not something that we could control or.
Correct, but the C1 zone can control that, right? Because C1 allows,
No, it's an Illinois law.
Illinois law.
We-
I understand, but what I'm saying is with a C1, you're allowed a public place of amusement license. With any lesser zoning,
The C1's your lowest commercial zoning. So, and it's looking at areas that were zoned the station area, which allowed for that big, broad amount of different types of commercial uses. So essentially, we're just transitioning it from one to the other. If there's issues, if you were to take areas that are within the station area that are used for commercial purposes, and we don't have a commercial district lower than C1. That's our lowest intensity commercial district.
is there an option to incorporate something that would prevent public place of amusement in that area?
It's a policy item. I mean, this is something that's typically part of these types of districts, so.
And the C1, what's the height allowed for a C1?
45 feet.
Okay, so 4 stories. Thank you.
My name is Andrew Young. I live at 3139 Cleveland Avenue, and I'm the owner of the property. So the reason I'm here is because I had a rather unsettling conversation with the interim village planner, Scott Vigor, on July 1st this year. And he reached out to me because he wanted some background on a controversial empty lot directly behind my home, and actually flanked by 2 other neighbors of mine who are present tonight. So what I wanted to address is the issue of Article 443B, the traditional lot concept. In speaking with Scott, he was reaching out to discover a little bit more about a lot that was owned by a friend of mine when I moved into town in 2014 named Patrice. Oh, are you nodding because you know about this? Did Scott supply you the 16 pages of emails that I gave him? Oh, you are Scott? Oh, hey. There we go. I didn't see a name tag. Forgive me. I was scoping around the room all day, and you and I spoke earlier. Okay, hi, Scott. Okay, so here's where I was unsettled, Scott. When you and I were speaking, I was trying to explain to you that it was my understanding when I came into town in 2014, I had 2 PIN numbers on 3 sections, a 50-foot wide lot for the residents and a strip, 25 feet, pertaining to a kind of recessed area that became kind of a catch for heavy flooding, et cetera. But it's also a garden and other things like that. Patrice Al-Sadin, who lived right across the alley from me, had an identical setup, a 50-foot lot on which the home sat, and a 25-foot by 165-foot strip beside it. Patrice had lived there her whole life. Temporarily, she moved to Chicago, moved back when her parents were ill, and I met her when she went living alone at the place. Okay, so she sold the home, and I learned from the new owner in the year 2022 that there had been a subdivision of the lots. What I didn't know, but I learned upon investigation with then village planner Kate Portillo, is that no formal petition had ever been made about the subdivision of those lots. And I'd like to, in addition to those 16 pages I sent to you, Scott, I'd like to just read one very pertinent email. I can testify that all of the data in this is factual, and I have contemporary notes to support it, but please forgive some of the emotion. the 16 pages are literally emails sent among 4 parties who are immediate neighbors to this controversial lot. This was addressed to Amanda Daly, who lived north, and Laura Garcia. I said, thanks, Amanda. I have some fresh news. I just talked to Kate Portillo, and she had some follow-up to our long conversation last week. A couple of the more important questions were pertaining to Laura's lot as it relates to undeveloped zoning lot next to hers. From the zoning map on the village website, Patrice Alsadin and her family own the 2 lots, which are mirror images of the 2 lots that Marie and I have. Also, I learned that they have separate PIN numbers. So at present, and I put in bold at present, and according to the Cook County Recorder, Laura's house lot sits on a 50-foot wide by something like 165-foot property. The smaller lot is 25 feet by 165 feet. Now, I should interject that I was sitting on the phone with Kate Portillo, then village planner, looking at the same public information screen through the Cook County records. And sure enough, at that point in time, though the sale of the house was made, it was still 50 foot by 25 feet. The smaller, okay, last week I asked Kate Portillo how the developer was able to subdivide the properties into a new configuration for sale without petitioning for variance or notice. Kate dug into it, and there is no filing or record of this action. The petitioner for next week's hearing was representing that he wants to build on a lot that is 37.5 feet wide. I believe Laura's survey might show a 37.5 foot width, but that wouldn't be where the metal stakes are if the pin number and lot size is still actually 50 feet. This looks very suspicious. And I named who I think was the developer, Mark Santoyo, misrepresented the size of the house lot in the sale. Okay, please bear with me, there are a couple more paragraphs, but it kind of puts the story together in a single email. I say the news as of right now is that the hearing has been denied because the petitioner did not follow legal processes. My hunch is that he thought he could get a 2-for-1 deal if a variance of 37.5 was granted for one and would therefore confirm the reportioning of the other. This never passed the smell test for me, and the village agrees. It's possible that Mark Santoyo will try again, and there could be a September hearing, but I think his misrepresentations have soured my view in general. The village does not have a land development program whereby they are building on small lots now. Some of this zoning stuff might have been caught by a diligent mortgage company. That's also assuming risk in the matter, but that's not a given. Lastly, Laura, if we can get a copy of your survey, I know Kate would like to see it. The village attorney has already been notified of the matter as well. That's fairly significant because Scott represented to me that there wasn't very much information on record. So I think that's important. As it stands, you actually have a 50-foot wide lot according to Cook County records and probably the assessor, though they haven't gotten back to Kate. So Kate was taking pretty, I think, dedicated action on this when we were trying to find out the roots of the problem. I don't know how Mark framed the whole tax pin argument to you, but they have not gone about this legally. You might want to alert your attorney to see how to proceed. Let's keep the conversation going. Feel free to share this with Alex too. The hearing has been denied, and Laura, you might have more land than you thought you had. Plus, a smaller lot will remain empty as it becomes nowhere near the zoning requirements for building. Okay, so Scott, I think you and I had a very earnest, open exchange, but when I started reading the details of the new zoning maps, I have in my possession a zoning map for the village of Brookfield from 2022, where the geometry of those lots is indicated as 2/3 third, just like mine is across the alley. In the new zoning map, it's indicated as sort of split, half and half. Now, Scott, you never got back to me regarding all the documents I sent to you, nor have I or the neighbors who have created the 16 pages, now plus 4 more, of email exchanges. We haven't until this moment had a voice on the matter. And my concern when I saw the issue of the traditional lot, that somehow this mess will get sort of washed and we sort of start fresh. So my question is, A, do we know the status of that lot? And B, is it going to be washed into the traditional lot with no voice from the residents who from 2022 forward have been concerned about it?
Nice to see you.
Hi, Scott.
I'm going to say this very politely. We spoke on the 1st of July. On the 2nd of July, I sent all the material to the lawyer's
Thank you.
office.
Thank you.
And your concern is that we have, as you might guess, several similar properties to that in town. Of course, this one on Morton, right? Morton.
Yeah, you were calling it 3140 Morton.
Right. And the Morton, there's one on Harrison, there's one on Grove. And they're not buildable. We've told the real estate agent relative to this property 2 or 3 times, it is not buildable. We've had calls from prospective buyers, and we say, it is not buildable. The question, perhaps, is, as you say, does the 3,000 square foot traditional lot all of a sudden make this buildable? And the argument is, when it was done, 2022?
Perhaps the sale was 2021.
4 or 5 years ago.
But in that ballpark, yeah, that's when I learned about it.
Was that legitimate? Under the code, as I see it, it should, your neighbor shouldn't have been able to buy the 30 feet or 37 feet, whatever it was. But they did, And like I say, we have other scenarios like that in town where over the years, someone's bought part of it. And, because it depends, we do have a provision that says you build on something, you consolidate.
So, pardon my interruption. So if a seller creates a non-conforming lot from a conforming lot, then we just go ahead and recognize it and elevate it to a conforming lot at that point?
No. I mean, that's the question we put forth on the 2nd of July. How do we handle this? And we're still working through that answer.
Okay, so it remains undetermined?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And if I could just clarify for the commission as well, and for the public, this particular unique situation, which we are aware of, we've been working through it, it's one that presents, it's a unique buildable lot question that also involves potential conveyance and how it was conveyed. So that's outside of the zoning, the scope of the zoning that we're doing here, which is why it does require some additional review, and we have sent that over to legal counsel so we can look through it, because there's the other component of how it was conveyed.
I respect and I really appreciate your diligence in this. I didn't have any further communication, and so there was this big gap from 2022 after Kate, I guess, left and there was some movement, and then Scott reached out to me to get some clarification, which I offered everything. I mean, including like smiley faces and emojis and everything that went through, because I feel like transparency is the thing. And if I may emphasize this, transparency and trust in process is the key here. And I feel I can speak for my neighbors, feel like the process was corrupted from the start. And so now I don't know if due diligence falls solely on the part of a purchaser. I mentioned a mortgage company or a bank and mortgages, et cetera. But Scott indicated to me that there was a second buyer of the lot who intended to build a home along with her husband. Was she also duped in purchasing something that was non-conforming?
And that's where the process of the conveyance for the closing comes into play, which is a separate legal question from the zoning aspect of it. And that's where it's stalled right now, but
Well,
it will be resolved.
I feel comfortable that you're working on it, and I feel comfortable that this is the first time I and my neighbors have had a voice on the matter. Because the hearings continuously got canceled because the legality or
And they kept transferring hands too.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Thank you for hearing me. Is there anything you want to ask? No, you're good?
for now.
Okay. Do you want more emails? All right. Thank you. And thank you again for your time and attention to this. I know it's pretty dicey, it's pretty spicy, but it's something we have to keep working on because it started on a bad foot. And I should just say, I lived in Chicago 27 years, 23 of them in the same place in Lakeview, and I saw the advantages of development, but I also saw the congestion. And I came to Brookfield for spaciousness and what we're calling neighborhood texture or character, and my lot goes right up against this space. So, thank you very much. Thank you again for your attention.
Good evening. My name is Emmanuel Krathenansis. I live at 4017 Du Bois Boulevard in Brookfield, Illinois. I wanted an assurance that this map will not change and include these addresses that were mailed to us that are going to be zoned according to the letter to C2. I just want to know that later a version won't come up where the residential properties that are on this map as residential will not change to a commercial. I want to know that this was indeed sent out in error and it's not something being sneaky.
This is part of the public hearing, so at this moment, we don't have any instruction to change the map. The intent was to keep that within that I believe it was the R1 area. If there are any changes, there will certainly be another public hearing and legal notices would be sent out.
Well, this is a legal notice that was sent out.
Right, but the map controls.
I got
Right.
that. I heard you.
Yeah.
But I want to understand. I want an assurance that this looks suspect to me. I've lost confidence while seeing this. I've lost confidence in the way that things are being done in Brookfield. So I want to regain the confidence I had in Brookfield when I moved in. I want to understand that this is not you guys doing this on accident. This maybe got sent a little too early, and as you get a little traction, you'll send it out later. This only came a couple days before the meeting. It came to the wrong person. I've been living at this house almost 10 years, 9 years, at the beginning of 2017. And this was sent to the people who lived there a decade ago, not to me. This is a common thing that Brookfield does. They send it anytime it's something. When it's a bill, it is in my name. When it's something I need to pay, it's in my name.
Right.
When it's something like this, it seems to be in the last people's name. And that seems suspect to me. I'm losing confidence rapidly. I want to be assured that you're not going to, I have a whole thing I wrote up, which I'm not going to bother with boring you all with what the impact would be, which I'm sure you know the impact of making my residential house commercial, and I wrote all that out, and I'm not going to bore you with it.
Of course.
But I want assurance that you're not going to make my property a commercial property, 4017, or my neighbors for that matter.
Certainly.
4017 Du Bois Boulevard will stay a residential property, will not be a non-conforming commercial property. I don't want that.
So for the record, and just to clarify the record even further, take a look at the map up there. The map controls, and the legal notices run with the property, which I'm sure you know. Sometimes the name isn't exactly the same, whatever the assessor has on their record. But just to assure you, the notices go to the property, but the map is the controlling aspect that we're talking about here at this hearing.
So the assessor does have my name. I do pay the taxes. So my name is correct. The one I'm getting is different.
Right. The map is the one that we're looking at.
I understand. I've heard you. Thank you. I want to know that this won't change the map later. I want to know that you guys aren't doing sneaky stuff, because it looks bad.
Well, this is all public. That's why we're having this, so we can correct anything that needs to be corrected, and we can discuss
Great.
it, and we can work together on that.
Great. Give me the assurance that my property will not become
I
commercial.
just gave it to you, sir.
You did?
I just gave you the assurance. This is the map
So-
that we're working with. I don't have any,
Please put in layman's language, because I'm a very simple man.
Mhm.
Please explain to me, going forward, my house will not become a commercially zoned area. That's all I want to hear.
Going forward with the address that you've indicated, there is no indication that that area is being rezoned.
I understand there's
as
not an
the map that
indication.
shows.
That's great legal talk. I understand you have a legal degree. Thank you. I don't. But I would like in plain language, I would like an assurance that my house will not, I understand the zone controls. I understand all the legalese. Although English is not my first language, it's my third. I have enough English to understand that. But I would like the assurance. I'd like you to tell me, yes, your property is not going to become commercial, in plain language, please. And then I'll leave you alone. I'll be happy.
I can't make a final determination. That's what the public hearing is for, but English is not my first language either. But I will put it in layman's terms. We can all take a look at the map. The light yellow is where your home is. There is no indication, there is no reason to believe at this point that there's going to be any rezoning. We've talked about the C265, which is the other color, which is the red color, not the light yellow color, which would be the rezoned area.
And I
So
understand.
I think that
I
would be
understand that. So
clear
then
enough.
answer this. Why are all these properties, why did we all get this letter? Well, not all of us, but a lot of us got this letter with this many properties. It's a big mistake. That's why it doesn't look, that's why I'm losing confidence.
And that's noted.
I understand. Thank you. So I'm not getting the answer I want. And that's what I'm hearing. You're telling me maybe it'll change, but maybe it won't. Who knows?
As the map is right now, your property is R1. 4017 Du Bois Avenue Boulevard is R1. Unless the commission makes a recommendation or the village board says change it, we're not making a recommendation to change it.
And I very much appreciate that, thank you. I'm concerned that that may happen. I'm concerned that there's something that maybe is not on the up and up. That's what I'm concerned about.
Wait, I'll add. If it did
Thank you.
happen, it would have to come before us. Because
Thank you.
if any other property gets rezoned, that's within our purview again. So then there'd be another series of meetings which you could attend and say, wait, what are you doing? I don't want to, so it can't be done without public discussion, approval of this committee, and then approval of the village board.
And sir, this will also be reviewed twice in public meetings by the village board. So nothing is going to happen in secret that you will not know about.
And I very much appreciate that. I would also like if I can just get them in my name, I'd appreciate that too. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Next.
Larry Ferneda, 8822 Brookfield Avenue. My concern is parking, and with the zoning thing. I live in the downtown district here, right here in Brookfield, right next door. Can't even park in front of my condo on Saturdays with the farmer market. So my question to the zoning thing is, you use the term multi-dwelling. What is this multi-dwelling? I mean, what is the planning or zoning board? What are you guys planning on building as far as multi-dwellings? Are they condos, apartments?
We don't plan on building anything,
Okay,
so that's
but-
not within our purview.
But what is?
And I think, again, maybe we can reiterate the Illinois statute.
Yeah, because-
we've discussed it on other meetings that we've had. We're not necessarily friends of it, but it's an Illinois statute, so maybe we can just go over it one more time.
Right.
So I don't know if, I like to say one thing. So earlier this year, and I don't know if it was Scott, I don't remember the person's name offhand, but I got this mysterious call saying, oh, I'm so-and-so from the village. Somebody gave me your number because, you manage this 6-story condo building. And we started talking and so forth. And they started asking me these questions like, well, how many units are in this building? And how many parking spaces? And I'm just like, you guys approved this in 2005. You don't even know what that building is? Was it you, Scott?
It was me, and that was background footwork for the downtown parking study that CLOA did.
And I gave
6
Scott
months
a
ago or
bunch of
whatever.
ideas. I gave him a lot of suggestions. Parking's horrible down here. So I'm just saying is when you start using the term, the Illinois statute of, there's no parking rules. I know there was a building across the street that was knocked down, like an old apartment building. And they're talking about putting a 12 unit, but only have like 8 parking spaces and, 4 bicycle racks. And, when this building was built, there was a parking stall for each condo. So there's 40 indoor parking spaces. So the first and second floor is parking, and 5 additional visitor parking spaces behind the building was a requirement from the village of Brookfield. Now you're saying there's no parking rule.
Just to reiterate, it's not us.
No, well, I'm
It's
just,
the state of Illinois.
but you got to take the impact of residents of parking.
I understand that, but our hands are actually at this point completely tied. The
But-
state, and it's in effect right now. This ordinance, whether this passes or not, this is a state law it came into effect on July 1st.
But you're going to pass it. So if a developer comes in here and wants to put a 16-unit apart or what? 16,
Right.
I'm going to say multifamily.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay, I'll just say multifamily.
Sure.
Even though I'd rather have condos than apartments.
In zoning, that doesn't matter. The development form is a multi-unit, multi-family building. We
It
don't
matters at
control
the-
whether it's condo or apartment.
It matters at the end of the year when you get your taxes.
But that's not a zoning issue. That's not a zoning code issue. We don't control whether it's rented or condos or owned, whatever.
You're missing the point, because if those were all apartment buildings at the 6-story condo with 40 units, it'd be 1 PIN number, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's 40 PIN numbers.
Okay.
So 40 PIN numbers times $9,000, $10,000 a unit, that's $400,000 of revenue that's brought to the village of Brookfield, correct?
I don't know the number, sure.
Okay, so I'm just saying it would bring more revenue to have condos than apartments. But I'm just gonna use multifamily now. So you're saying if they put a 12-unit multifamily building that they wanna do, and the village approves it, they're gonna say there's no parking requirement.
They can do that right now. It's a state of Illinois statute.
That's insane.
That's a state. I mean, the thing is, I mean, just to be clear, hands are tied. This is the state. The state has passed this law. You cannot require parking.
Yeah, if I can just jump in, just to clarify it for everyone, the people over parking was passed in June, and it applies to all of the villages. We can't require parking in certain areas within a half a mile of any qualifying transit hub, like a Metra, for example. So we agree with you.
And what year was that, you said?
It was just passed in this
Okay.
June 1st of this year it went into effect. So basically, it tells all villages that you cannot require minimum off-street parking for new residential and commercial buildings
And
within a
just
half
as-
a mile.
Yeah, and it's in
Well-
effect right now,
Yeah.
regardless of what this code does, because it's a
Okay.
state law.
Right.
Understood, I get it, okay. So I'm just saying, that's gonna bring down this whole development thing. It's not gonna be, it's nothing gonna be brake lights out here, so, so I guess, I don't know, I guess that's all I really had. I mean, it's just, the parking issue is gonna be atrocious, and it's really this, I mean, you have a good concept or whatever you want, maybe you want to do here with this rezoning. I know some residents are angry, and I kind of agree with them. But I think the biggest thing that's not really being looked at is this parking situation. You know, maybe the village should start looking into building a multi-level parking lot like LaGrange did at the back of the village hall or something.
I just want to clarify something, sir. We did look at the parking requirements, and as you might have heard earlier, when staff originally approached this committee, they wanted to have the no parking consideration village-wide. And there was an uproar here, okay? So we looked at every other area, and we told staff to make parking requirements village-wide, and I mean, this was before the Illinois statute came to be, right? So in all areas of the village, other than the three train station areas and the half-mile district, there are parking requirements in the village. We can't control what Illinois tells us to do. So,
Understood.
So don't say that we have no requirements anywhere else. We do, except what we can't control.
But I'm just saying, just be prepared what's gonna happen when all this. Yeah.
We don't disagree.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a nightmare. So, well,
Feel
thank
free
you.
to reach out to your state legislatures if you have strong
Yeah.
feelings about that.
Next.
Good evening. My name is Dilip Makwana, and I own the repair shop on the corner 9501 West Ogden Avenue. It's corner of Du Bois and Ogden Avenue. My question is, what will be the impact on a permittable use of this establishment? So, means like we got to renew the license every year for the business, and what will be the impact? You know, if I have to renovate the building, it's nothing height and it's the same but just renovating. Would that have any impact on this by the zoning?
Not for renewing your business license.
And how about renewing the property, renewing,
Renewing, what do you?
renovation?
Oh, renovating.
Yeah.
Depends. I mean, it really depends. I mean, we want to caution that with the code not being adopted, we can't kind of do an analysis of specific businesses and offer you advice and say that, yes, this is what's going to happen. I don't, you said it was 9501 Ogden? Yeah, I mean, it would, like any other business within that area, it would just have to kind of comply with, you know, what the code would say. So, I mean, I'm getting a little uncomfortable. I apologize to the commission. I'm getting uncomfortable. I don't want to answer questions on specific properties because I don't want to be in a position that said, I said that this is okay, when it's not.
The reason why we say, I've been owning that property for 27 years, so that's my, you know, earning and whatever you call, you know, running my family with that. So I have a concern that if something happen, I have to look for the backup plan, right? If-
Okay, again, I said this to a previous property owner. If you have specific questions about your property, reach out to Scott or Libby and have a meeting with them. They're very friendly. Sit down and say, okay, if this ordinance is adopted, what can I do and what can I do?
So, okay,
Yeah.
I'll do that. Thank you so much.
Great. Anyone else? Yes.
Could I,
You sure can.
I think I figured something out. And it's regarding the notice where people saw things like one of the examples we saw where, a couple examples we saw where the map shows something as R1, but you received notice that says it's C2, this issue. So I think what happened here is the map controls everything that we've said. So if you see your property on this map, what we've proposed, with the exception of, we said part of C1 becomes R4, as we've discussed tonight, is if you're seeing it as yellow, it is yellow. When you do notice for a rezoning, you need to notify properties within 200 and 250 that are not changing. It's just because you're the neighbor, you're getting the notice. And so you're basically getting notice that a certain property is changing, but you got the notice. It seemed to indicate that you were changing, but you're not. It's really just the stuff on the map that is changing. Does that make sense to you guys? It's a quirk. Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. So it really is that you're on that list because you're within that radius, but the map is the one controlling what properties are changing. It just indicated you were going to C2, but what it was telling you a property within 200 feet of you, or 250, whatever it is going to C2. So look at the map. That is what we have proposed for your property. Again, with those exceptions we highlighted, with part of C1 going to R4 and part of C2 going to R3, as we discussed very specifically. So I hope that helped.
It does, thank you. Okay, anybody else?
So I have the list. I have lots of copies of it. I can hand you all copies of it if you want. It doesn't say the same thing for everything on here. And moreover, there's been people who have come forward on these Brookfield Avenue addresses whose zoning is changing. They've testified to that already, and they're listed as what it is actually changing to. Ours are included on the list with a very specific address. There is no C2 zoning by my house. It's being changed to C265, and it says C2 on mine. There is no C2 zoning on my map. I understand that it was a mistake and made an error. Everyone is human. We all make mistakes, and that's totally fine, but it does specifically say exact parcel numbers, and the column at the top says proposed zoning, and very specifically says C2 zoning in an area that, according to the map, has no C2 zoning within 200 feet. I understand that there was some other mistake that happened, but that was not what the cause was. Thank you.
To clarify that, the zoning there that you're saying that has no current C2 zoning in place, they have the SA, they have the sorry, I choked on that. Station area zoning, so it's like SA3, SA4A, SA4B, and that's what's switching to a C2 or a C265. That's what's not showing. So some of these parcels that you see on the map that shows C265 and C2 were all SA districts. And that is the rezoning that's happening because the SA districts don't exist anymore.
So
Does that make sense?
It does make sense, but the exact notice on this piece of paper people received, and the reason people were panicking, is it specifically says the new zoning code will rezone certain properties within the village as follows, and then it lists a very specific address with the column property address, and then it says parcel identification number with a very specific parcel number, and then it says proposed zoning with a very specific zoning, and it says at the paragraph at the top that it will be rezoned as follows. So you can understand how that would cause people to conclude that their property would be rezoned in the following way.
I get it.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead.
One more quick question regarding the C1 zone. I'm curious why Brookfield doesn't plan to incorporate a more restrictive business zoning grade like the city of Chicago does to buffer residential from public place of amusements or C1 use.
policy item. See, public or just commercial amusement is a typical commercial use in all grades, but I don't, this is a
Because
policy
I think
initiative.
it starts at C1, but if you look at City of Chicago zoning code, B1, B2, and B3 don't allow public place of amusement. And as a resident of the area, I'm very concerned about what that will do to our very residential, narrow streets, winding streets, and a lot of kids. And if the establishment holds liquor or sells liquor along with entertainment, is there an opportunity
Are
to
these
change
allowed
this?
uses or are these special uses?
Amusement facility indoor is a permitted use in all of the Cs.
Okay.
Live performance venues are special in all of the Cs. Da-da-na-na-na-na.
But admission outside of live performance is permitted, right?
I don't know what that means.
Like any kind of a screening or, I don't know, like music being played or a dance hall or anything like that for a PPA license.
Yeah, so we're not, these uses aren't tied to what would be the licenses. For us, we've got the amusement facility indoor, which is kind of a broad range of uses, as well as the live performance venue. That one is special throughout all the districts. So that would be, concerts and things like that. It's a venue that's open for performances like that. And then things like eating and drinking are permitted in all three of the districts, just to kind of maintain the kind of commercial environment they're intended to do.
So just to clarify, what occupancy limit would be allowed, or is it based on square footage?
Yeah, that's outside of zoning.
Okay,
That's
so if a bar opened a dance club that charged, that would be allowed because it's not a live performance. Hence, parking and more people in the residential area.
I mean, depending on how that use is, it could. It depends on how that use is specifically kind of worked out and what's going on in there.
Okay.
So,
Can the zone approach the idea of a more restrictive zoning in that area so that we don't have a public place of amusement as a permitted space?
I think we just kind of flip-flop the terms. I mean, what this code is proposing is pretty similar to the way it's written now.
mm-hmm.
So a public place of amusement with a bar with,
Even if we didn't change this code right now.
so the
it's allowed.
SAB4 allows that? It allows, but the first question I asked if the SA4B allowed public place of amusement, and you said no.
Does it? Okay, so that is.
Great question.
Does it or doesn't? It does.
Different terms, same use.
So indoor assembly and entertainment, which would be our amusement facility indoor, is allowed in the in SA4B and SA4A. Is that what's compared here? Okay. SA2 would be C1. So which one are we looking at? SA2.
This is the zoo stop area.
They know.
So where are these uses? Okay, SA2.
And we should be clear, just to make sure everyone understands, any existing business, any existing use will not be changed by this. It will still be allowed to be there.
Okay, so I've lived in the city. We used to work for City Hall doing business licensing specific to public places of amusement, and I know the nuisance that it can come with. So I just want to clarify that, like, what will that allow in our community outside of the zoning that it's in? I guess is what I'm asking.
I'm trying to find the stationery.
And certainly, when it's time for the commission to deliberate, they could consider perhaps making that amusement indoor facility a special use rather than a permitted use in that particular district, once it comes time for the commission to deliberate.
Thank you.
Where are the uses?
Anyone else? Okay, because once I close the public hearing, then you got to listen to us, so. Would the applicant like to respond any further to any of the public comments they've heard tonight so far?
Not me, not at this time.
Hearing none, now I'll entertain a motion to close the public comment portion of the hearing and open up discussion to the commissioners.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Evans.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Commissioner Saborn.
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda.
Aye.
Commissioner Straker.
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairman Grund.
Aye. I just want a further clarification, because we've been together for a long, long time. In the Hollywood district, the proposed amendment to change to R4 is specific to what areas currently, just so it's clear to us?
The easiest way to say that, Mr. Chairman, is the 10 row homes or townhomes that, Dan's still here? Yeah, Dan's still here, and his clients would be the residential, and just to the west of those 10 townhome row homes is a multifamily structure. I think there's 4 units
Yep.
in that building. So those would be the recommendations, to go residential on those, but keep this C1, the C1 on everything else that's already commercial
Okay.
property.
All right, so essentially, all right,
Is it possible to get the exact addresses of those properties in order to make the motion? If we are putting that in as an amendment to the approval of this code, can we include those exact addresses in that amendment so that it's very clear?
Yeah, do I know them off the top of my head? I can find them, but I may not have them right now.
I guess I just don't know how we make that a very clear amendment that we're sure
Well,
covers
I
everything.
believe we heard the map.
Yeah.
Guides that, right? We've heard that many times today. and
But the map
from-
isn't showing that.
Great point.
do we know what's showing on the map now?
The one that came.
Well, I mean, it's kind of too small for me.
Yeah, the map would be updated based on what the
Okay,
recommendation
so
is.
the map would be updated.
Yes.
So we can make
With the
that
new
as an
one.
amendment, that the updated map would need to be updated, the map would need to be updated before it comes to the village board for their consideration and deliberation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. All right. I don't have anything else. Who's next?
Can I ask a couple of questions?
You sure can.
I think that I personally would recommend changing amusement facility indoor to special use in District C1, because in all areas of C1, it is very close to all of residential and single-family residential, and a very different use that would just allow the village to assess any new property, or any new use that might want to come in. It doesn't say, no, you can't have these amusement facilities in those areas. It just says, it gives it an extra layer of review and public comment. So I would recommend that to the commission.
And I don't want to bore you anymore with details, but for those of you that don't maybe not understand that, if we make that recommendation, special use means it has to come before this committee, and then we decide. So if somebody, has a very unique use, they have to come and get a zoning variance for that. Comes before this committee, we deliberate, vote, and then it goes to the village board, and they deliberate and vote. And usually, as anybody that's been in this village a long time, some of those issues in the past have met and not passed, so.
And just to reiterate that existing businesses would not be asked to leave. They would be allowed to stay.
So, just a point of clarification, I am not making an opinion, I'm just relaying what the station area districts say. In that section of C1, those areas that were SA2 are the kind of smallest parcels of SA. And then the majority of that area is the SA4B. And we are looking currently at the SA4 uses, and they do currently, I'm just relaying information, permit indoor assembly entertainment and eating and drinking as permitted uses. I'm just telling y'all. That's it. Not,
Yep.
not offering an opinion.
So I think it's for the commission to decide
Yep.
if that's your recommendation.
You said you had a couple questions.
I do.
Go ahead.
Do we want to stay on that one?
Yeah.
Have a quick discussion?
That's probably
Sure.
wise.
I mean, that's how we did all of our other meetings and came to some consensus. I would agree with you in moving amusement facility to a special use within the C1 district.
And that would also include a public event, businesses.
Live performance venue is already a special use in all districts.
I think it's, I think it has to be, again, because the other thing we always talk about is, you know, the parcels and the buildings are so small. I mean, to do a big-time amusement space, I mean, you gotta assemble lots of properties. And if somebody's gonna have the money and willpower to do that, then it should be a special use so that, you know, the residents and us can deliberate over it. So I'm all for it.
Is that all the discussion on the topic? I don't want to stop you guys. Okay, well, my other, another question on my review of this draft is the downtown core district, the current height proposed in the code is 90 feet. In the stationary district that is currently, it's allowed to be a maximum of 6 stories. I don't believe, based on the village board's previous discussions, I don't believe that I see a situation where 90 feet would be desired in that district. That is so much taller than the businesses, than the buildings in that area. I think it would be outsized, and my recommendation would be to go with something like, for example, Downers Grove. Their downtown maximum is 70 feet. Something more like that would allow for 6 stories, which I think is more in line with what our standard has been. So that's my recommendation, is to reduce that from 90 feet.
Discussion?
Is there
Just
some
so-
reason, I'm sorry, is there some reason that it was 90 feet?
I could explain.
Sure.
Okay. So initially, your current station area district for the downtown allows for 6 stories. It has a maximum of 18. The maximum height for your ground floor can be 18. The maximum for the floors above would be 12 feet. That's the current standard. You do the math on that. Ground floor 5 feet above, 5 stories above, gets you to, I believe, 78 feet. When you're looking at the design of a structure, it seemed for a downtown core to limit the ground floor to 18 feet could be restrictive in terms of design, and to limit the upper stories to 12 feet could be a bit restrictive. So when you bump those up to something that's a little more in line with the downtown, which would be 20 on the ground and then 14 for the 5, it's still a 6-story building, but it's the math works, you know, it's got a better downtown character. So that's where the number came from. So initially, right now, you're sitting at 78. That's currently allowed, 78 feet
And what
in
is-
the downtown.
Do you know what the 6-story condo building is?
I have no
Okay,
idea.
Okay.
That was my question.
Okay.
It's gotta be 72, 75. It's gotta be 12 to 12 for a floor, I just think. So it's probably 75, 78. I don't wanna limit it to, could we say 90 feet, but no more than 6 stories?
I would hesitate about going by stories because I think that one of the things we were trying to do with the zoning code is to remove the stories restriction.
Yeah. But I understand the first floor height, because that's pretty typical, not only in zoning codes, but in building codes too. Because a lot of the commercial tenants, they need the higher space to get all
Sure.
the, you know, all the mechanicals and everything else in the ceiling plane.
I think what I want to think about is the massing, though, and I think that we might find that residents are not in favor of something quite so tall as a 90-foot building.
I mean, the one thing to keep in mind, the difference between 90 and 78 is only 12 feet, which from that height is, kind of gets a little bit imperceptible. at that point.
This is your decision.
I think on this one, I defer to the architects that are designing, these types of structures in the way that commercial and residential units are being built, so that one of the goals is to see some of that development move forward. And while I've probably been more to the side of, not offering that ease in all places, in this case, those design standards seem to make sense that I'm starting to hear from those that are designing it. And if between 78 and 90, if that makes a better property that's more marketable to both commercial and residential tenants, I would probably lean more in favor of that.
I agree.
Comfortable with 90 feet.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with 90 feet as well. I mean, there are places where construction currently going on, we have an 8'6" floor-to-floor height. But that's no ceilings, essentially the floor slab and the floor construction between one unit to the next is 6 inches, right? That's all you have, it's stripped out, basically. And that's not, while the units are selling, but they're not selling at the rate, that others that have 10-foot ceilings are, so. That's just a marketing perspective. But I'm okay with 90 feet. I'd be surprised if we got a 90-foot building here.
Yeah. Right.
But.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you. Next.
If we can go back into the C1 district, I'm looking for clarity around with use, Arista. When we have community center here, can you again just remind me of what that type of use within our zoning code here would entail?
A facility used as a place of meeting, recreation, or social activity that is open to the public and is not operated for profit and offers a variety of educational and community service activities.
Thank you. I like that definition. I think I bring that up only around the idea of, it's more of that draw of a large group of people, and where we lose some of our control around parking. Is this maybe better for a special use for this specific C1 district? Open to discussion on that.
Can you repeat that?
Yep, so community center, the draw that it may have could be similar to that amusement facility in what it's intended to do. And so I wonder if that's, an area to look at a special use. Some may fit very well, some may not because of the large draw that they're asking for. Again, most development happens around what they can bring to them, but this may be an area where a special use makes sense. That's all. So the question, I suppose, would be, is there any agreement that that should be a special use or no?
I agree with special use.
That's just in the C1 district.
I'm just calling for the C1, which is in the smallest of our commercial, right? Open to discussion in the others.
I would agree in that respect, and the fact that, community center could be something that is operated by a park district, even though the community has its park district program. Like other neighboring villages, they have rented out their community centers for banquets during the off hours, wedding banquets, graduation parties. So again, when it comes to that kind of a draw with the parking, when they're all coming at one time for that one event.
I think I would keep, C1 would be a special use, but I would retain C2, C3 as a permitted use. And what, are we gonna use the term Arista just mentioned for amusement use? I mean, how are we gonna define that?
I'm not talking about amusement
No.
use, I would be saying community, right? Community center is what I was talking about.
Community center.
Community center,
Okay.
correct. Sorry. Because I think right now what we have, you know, if we're keeping a running list of potential changes for a motion to approve, it's what, right now, there would be consensus seemingly, we have consensus around amusement facility being a special use, community center being a special use in C1, and remaining with the 90-foot. Those are the three topics so far.
It might not be a bad idea, given the restriction on parking, or that there is no restriction on parking, but that we are restricted to what we can do for parking.
Mm-hmm.
That's everything I have.
Next.
Can I
It's
add a
great
little
to
one?
have these 6 meetings before.
Are we
because it allowed
making
us to
community
flush
center
most of this
special?
out.
Or is the recommendation to make community center special?
We think so.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. We haven't formalized the motion yet.
Didn't see one.
Hopefully we can.
I think Jennifer had something else?
It's just a little one, and I'm debating whether it's important enough. Under the new administrative adjustments section that was added in this draft, the landscaping is allowed to be adjusted by staff. I might just add that it shouldn't be reduced under a minimum of 3 feet, because if you try to plant anything in less than 3 feet, it's just not gonna work, so there's no point. And there's no minimum listed on that. So that's my recommendation.
Last one, I promise.
Your expertise lies in that, and I think that that makes sense from your background in working with it and planning it in your professional life. So that makes sense to me as well.
I have some just editing items. I'm not sure if this is appropriate to bring up now, or is that something I should email?
Those Scrivener's errors?
Yeah, like one article is misnumbered. In the type of contents, things like that.
Those
Just
are
email.
Those are Scrivener's errors that we can make the changes to. They're all non-substantive, correct, Sue?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Please email them. Sorry. Apologize.
Let me ask this question then. Assuming we make a determination and some amendments and we move forward, what's the plan to make those changes and then get the documents to the village board and then have the time they need to review? I assume this all can't happen in a month, but I just,
And I may need village council to jump in on the procedure. The zoning commission is tasked with preparing the report with any changes on it.
okay,
Correct. So
Go
within
ahead.
30 days from tonight's meeting, the zoning commission will finalize the tentative report that's in the materials for tonight's
Okay.
evening. Finalize that report and transmit that along with the proposed new zoning code, including any revisions that are
Okay.
recommended today, within 30 days to the corporate authorities of the village.
okay.
Tom, that can be inside of the 30 days, right?
Correct.
Okay.
It could be less than that as well. Yeah, 30 days is the
It
maximum.
won't be 2 or 3. Okay, so then I'll ask you, since this is the first time we've been through this. So we have a draft from the village that can be provided to us in an editable form?
Correct.
And then we can all look at it and take a shot at the amendments we've talked about tonight?
Correct.
Okay, I think that's the best
Yes.
way to go about it.
So then we don't vote tonight, we vote in 30.
Can
the next
make a
meeting.
motion to,
Yeah.
to vote,
Is there
to
some-
adopt the tentative report and to finalize it, and then to finalize the proposed zoning ordinance within 30 days.
Right.
So
And just
you will
for
be
clarity-
voting on that process to do that.
The
yes.
proposed changes is Arista making those changes, which will then go into the report for the commission to review.
Great. Yes.
Right, okay, just want to clarify, yeah.
Okay,
So it is,
but what I'm saying is that
conditions?
if we get a document, or, no, and it doesn't have to be editable then, if that's your purview.
You can edit it if you want, I'm
I don't
not,
want
No,
to
no, no.
edit
it's
it.
your
no.
code at the end of the day.
No, what I'm saying is, we've talked about a fair amount of amendments tonight. You know, if one happens to get by the wayside, then we would have a chance to say, hold on, we gotta add this one, or this one, or this one, right?
Right, and correct me if I'm wrong, that any of the changes that you're proposing tonight, Arista's going to change them, we'll put them in that form, in that
in this
report that the,
document, right, in
right, that
this
the zoning
draft.
commission is then
Okay.
going to review and make any
Okay.
additional changes.
All right.
And then that goes to the board.
So does the commission then vote to approve or deny this map and this zoning code with these specific
Proposed changes, correct.
And
Right.
we enumerate those?
Correct.
Okay.
And that'll be enumerated here in the zoning commission part of it, and then, again, recommended for future board review with contingent on the changes at a future meeting.
I guess, and that's all fine and well, I'm trying to get at, when do we make final
An
approval of the
updated one?
draft?
How long would you?
Yeah, I mean, so far, I'm really, if the amendments are what we've just been talking about, the couple of special uses in the landscape.
And some edits and,
The edits, yeah, I mean, in the edits, we can handle, if I can get those, I could just make those, I won't identify them. Typically, and I'm gonna defer to the attorney here, I'm just gonna tell you what I've been through, and I don't know if statute has changed from this point. Once you make the recommendation to approve it with X, Y, and Z changes, I can give you a red line document that shows X, Y, and Z changes, and I send that back to you guys, and that goes with, typically with your report saying, we had a public hearing on this document, here are the changes minus any Scrivener's errors, of substantive recommendations we made. So changing the Ps to the Ss, the administrative adjustment for landscape can't be below 3 feet, these things that we've been talking about. Does that make sense?
Yes.
and we don't have to meet to approve that?
No.
No, okay,
So you'll vote to approve that process tonight,
right.
and then you will not require an additional zoning commission meeting. You know, obviously, we're having a subsequent plan and zoning commission meeting after this as well.
All right, you know what I'm getting at, right? I mean,
think we're okay.
what if something's missing, and then it goes before the village board? And something is missed, through nobody's fault?
Do we vote or continue after we review the new document?
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
The corporate authorities have they can enact the ordinance with or without change. So if there's something that needs to be changed, the corporate authorities can change the proposed ordinance.
Okay.
So if something is left out,
Correct.
they can change it before they vote.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we've typically seen it where if you've identified something, you would go to that village board adoption meeting and say,
Okay.
I saw this in this section.
Or they
Sorry?
could send- or
They,
the-
they could send it back.
Or the board could
The
send it
zoning
The board
commission-
can send it back
right,
too,
The zoning
yeah, I
commission will
mean-
remain in operation until the adoption of the zoning ordinance by the village board. So there's always possibility that it could be sent back for a further meeting if there needs to be further
Okay,
clarification.
all right, I'm gonna, we've been at this for 2.5 years. I mean, I'm comfortable making the changes and having it come back to us and meet again. I mean, we talked about a lot of stuff today. And if something gets missed and it goes to the board, then the board's gonna come back to us and say, well, you forgot the C1 amusement, and you got, and I have complete confidence in staff, but, 2.5 years of hard work for another month?
If we could,
That's fine.
but then, we have a planning meeting immediately preceding this, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
That could be continued.
Right.
Yeah.
Would it, how fast can those changes be made? Would it make sense to have a special meeting before the next planning meeting? And would anybody be in favor of that? I know you guys are doing a lot of work on this and having a lot of special meetings.
I think I'm not as concerned because I see it as, I mean, I have it logged as 3 changes, and what's memorialized in the document that came to the zoning board from the petitioner. If there is something that comes up, I think it can be addressed at the village board level, but I understand, I do understand where you're at.
Maybe I'm being overly concerned, I don't know.
Sure.
What do you think over here?
I think we should have another meeting, get the edits done, complete,
Yeah.
and have another meeting.
Sounds great.
Whether it's a special meeting or not.
Yeah, so we
Not sure
can,
the
we
timing.
can continue,
And if-
right?
The requirement, this public hearing would satisfy the requirement for the public hearing as long
Right.
as the final report and the proposed ordinance is submitted to the village board within 30 days. So from the public hearing date,
Okay.
from today's date, so.
So it would have to be
Continue
a
the
special
hearing.
meeting.
Right.
You'd And- have When we continue a meeting, we do have to set a specific date for that. Is that correct?
It's, you can continue it to a date certain, a date to be set, to be specified. If you know a certain date, that would be preferable, but
Probably
it
better
can
to
be
figure it out now.
TBD.
So clarify the 30 days. Is that, we can send it to them at the 29th day?
Within 30 days
Within
from the
30
adjournment
days.
of the hearing, of the public hearing. Otherwise, you'll have to have another public
Yeah.
hearing, so. you can
Which
do
we,
that.
we don't,
But can't-
that's what we don't.
I guess the point is we move it out of this, 30 days starts, that's great. Push the planning and zoning meeting that it's coming to us anyhow, again, all of us, for review, where we have to review it, correct? That
Correct,
group
right.
has to. If you see something that has to happen, say it there. We'll put a planning and zoning meeting in a week. And then we're still moving the process
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be this board comes back together, then planning and zoning comes back together, because the 2 boards are the same.
Right.
That makes sense.
And that maybe is the middle ground where we still have a check, but we're still moving this forward and not reopening
Right.
the public hearing, because I can't, if we've made changes, transparency says we would be back
Right.
before all of you.
Yeah,
What's the public notice requirement for that meeting?
but you're saying we don't need another public meeting?
Well, to
Public hearing.
post it,
You've done the public hearing.
right.
Right.
Yeah,
This is just to be able to post it, so if it's 30 days from today, counting tomorrow. Today's not counted, or today is counted?
Today would not be counted,
Today-
starting tomorrow.
Okay.
So if we had it, let's say, 2 weeks from today, we would not have to notice that meeting?
Because it's not a public meeting.
'Cause
Or
it's
we
not a
have to
public
notice it.
It is.
You would have,
Okay.
you would
You'd-
have to
you'd have to-
post it and do all the
Right, we have
requirements
to
of the
post it
Open Meeting
regularly,
Act.
Right.
correct. 48 hours beforehand.
Correct.
And
But-
30 days would fall from today, would fall on Saturday, September 26th, which unfortunately is right before the 28th for the board meeting.
And have we actually closed the public hearing? We closed the public comment
Right.
Yeah,
portion
we
of the
haven't
hearing.
closed the
So
public
could
hearing
we
yet.
just continue the public hearing
Could,
and then extend that date?
could do that.
And then not have to renotice?
Yeah. I think what I was hearing from Commissioner Evans was that you would conclude this, and I'll defer to staff on the village's timeline as far as preference of getting this before the village board. If you concluded this public hearing or made your recommendation today from the zoning commission, you could continue the plan and zoning commission meeting that is scheduled for immediately following this meeting. And since it's the same group of people, the same body, you guys would have another chance then to review any changes that were made at that meeting before making a recommendation from that body. But I understand what you're saying. If you want a final recommendation on to finalize the proposed ordinance with the recommended revisions that have been suggested tonight, then you may need to continue this zoning commission meeting for a week or two, come back and make your motion to recommend, so.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's the better solution.
Did you say
Which
for the
one?
continuance, we do not need extra notice?
No, this
Okay.
is it. You
This-
can
for-
notice.
like if it's continued, it
Right,
would
I
just
mean,
be a
you'll have,
regular.
still have to, you know, post on the agenda online and all that, but not the publication notice that you've sent in the newspaper is not required. You've already fulfilled
Got
that
it. Okay.
obligation.
Okay, so we could continue this, we can vote on this, and, because I don't think, in the, the time we've been here, we're not gonna be able to formalize all these amendments. I mean, that's kind of your job over there. We
I
can,
mean, you don't have a lot of amendments. I can read them to you. I mean, they are
I
very
think-
short.
Amusement facility indoor to special use, community center to special use, landscaping design, 90-foot we didn't agree on. And then anything that the village has already memorialized within the documentation.
And then the R4 issue.
I mean,
The
do you want
R4
me to
issue?
read them off?
Yeah.
I mean, you've done it. I mean, you basically did it, but I mean, I'll just do it in kind of a, I just want to find the one direct
Yeah, the
language.
map.
Give me 1 second.
The
'Cause
map.
I gotta find
The
one stupid
R4
thing.
issue is, I mean, it's in the
17.4.
draft document.
The amendments that you have requested are as follows. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. In the C1 district, amusement facility indoor would
just
become,
indoor or outdoor too?
outdoors not allowed in C1.
Okay,
In the C1, the amusement facility indoor would become a special use. In the C1, the community center use would become a special use. In the administrative adjustment, section 17.4, where we speak about landscape and buffer dimensions, it would say a reduction, the current standard is a reduction of not more than 10% in the required width of a landscape area or buffer, provided that the total amount of required landscape material is maintained and would not be less than 3 feet in width. So those are your 3 text amendments. Then the areas of, oh no, there is one more. Now you said from what staff said too, right? From what we brought up at the beginning. So in the C265 district, we would allow for multifamily. So that use would be added in the C265. Then you have 2 map amendments. So that's all your text amendments. That's it. That's all you got. Your map amendments, and we will double check this, but this is the existing townhome and multifamily. 8502 to 8516 Brookfield would be changed from being a C1 district to an R4 district. And then the other one is this area that I'm hoping Scott can help me describe in what it kind of looks like. It's the area along Burlington and Dubois. I just like saying it now.
The 9500 block?
That would change from the C2 to the R3.
So when we talked about changing those row houses, didn't we also include the apartment building next
Yes.
door?
yes.
That includes it,
Okay,
yes.
I didn't hear you say that.
No, I just said the address. The address includes all those things.
Okay.
All right, my comfort level has increased.
Yeah, so you have a total of 4 text amendments and 2 map amendments.
And then would, the map would be updated as well?
Yes,
For us
of
to
course,
see?
yes, and you would
Okay.
see where these areas have changed when
Okay.
we send it back. It would be your recommendation to change it to the R4 and the R3.
Okay, so then, assuming we vote and we include all of this, when do you think we'd see it again in advance of if we forward it to the village board?
Okay, well, when will Commissioner Svoboda get me all my mistakes?
Email it to you now.
Okay, perfect, let's do that. If you get me that, I can correct those. As long as I can get my GIS guy, I can probably get it to you next week.
And just point of clarity, it still has to go to planning and zoning, correct?
Right.
So we have to make it, I can't believe this. All of our meetings are as minute as this, it's great, in a good way. It still has to come to us. Are you recommending then that we move it through tonight, because that's after this? Or let them do the amendments and let us see it one more time in 1 week, or whatever it may be, that we can get a quorum to take a look at it.
Well, I don't want this to be my decision, that's for sure.
Well, I think I'm throwing it
But
out.
what I'm saying is now, with the clarity that I just heard, I think I'm comfortable forwarding it. I don't know.
I could go either way.
Yeah.
So, we've approved with changes before, and it's worked out well.
But it doesn't change the whole public meeting thing if we get this document by email. And then we respond to that email. If one of us finds a typo or, oh, this wasn't quite right, and then we send it back, that's all legal.
Correct.
Fine.
Yes.
Okay. So then the due diligence is on us to look at it carefully and.
Great.
Is there a comfort level there?
I'd be comfortable with that.
Yes.
Okay. Where am I? Who wants to do the motion? Oh, I knew you were gonna look at me.
Come on. Been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, I do that and then, yeah, okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion at this time to adopt the tentative zoning commission report submitted herein and to finalize said report and transmit it to the corporate authorities along with the proposed new zoning ordinance within 30 days from this meeting with the following amendments as will be enumerated by Arista.
Do you want me to do that right now,
I-
for the record?
You can do it for the record.
Okay.
That's even
Everybody
better.
always makes me do it, so
That's good.
don't
You're
feel
better
bad.
at it.
Okay, in the C1 district, amusement facility indoor will be changed to a special use. In the C1 district, community center will be changed to a special use. In the C265, multifamily will be permitted. In the administrative adjustment section for landscape, it will be clarified that it cannot go below 3 feet in width in terms of the buffer or landscape area. On the map, 8502 to 8516 Brookfield will be changed from C1 to R4. And in the area regarding Congress Park, which you said was 9,500 of Burlington will be changed from C2 to R3 to reflect all existing development patterns.
And we'll get an updated zoning map.
Yes.
That's the motion.
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Evans,
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda,
Aye.
Commissioner Straka.
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairman Grund.
Aye. Other business. Well done, everyone, and well done, audience. Do we have an update from staff?
Not at this time.
Okay.
I think we can move to the next meeting.
Can I say, thank you, everybody, for coming out. It is genuinely nice to hear from our residents, and this is how the process is supposed to work. This is the democratic process, you know, we're supposed to hear from you, we're supposed to adjust based on what is important to you. But also, all of the commissioners up here are volunteers. So when they talk about the years that this has taken and all of the meetings that this has taken to do this, on behalf of all the residents and the business owners and the property owners in town and the village board, thank you so much for all of the work that you've put into this.
Well, on that high note, as it is 8:57, do I have a motion to adjourn the zoning and planning commission meeting of August 27th?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Evans.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Commissioner Saborn.
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda.
Aye.
Commissioner Straka.
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairman Grund.
Aye. Thank you all.
Are we we go into the next meeting?
Um, We have to do something with the next meeting.
We're gonna do the planning and zoning tonight?
Oh, yeah, let's hit it.
Oh, yeah.
It's,
Back down,
There's
Mr.
a-
Chairman.
we have
We
to
got
at
another
least
one,
One
sorry.
second.
continue it.
got one
Yeah,
more
let the,
meeting.
let the audience know there's
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
subsequent meeting. I can jump in and explain why we're having another meeting. Figure you're
Nope,
here, you might as well.
I'm gonna grandstand.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might want to let everybody kind of clear out. They've been here a while.
The crowd from the north
I
side
can't
are
believe so
gathering
many
outside,
people
they're gonna
lasted
come
this
in
long.
20, 30 at a time.
Yeah. Discussion.
Give them a
back
lot of
and
credit
forth.
for sticking around the whole time.
All right, if you could leave quietly, we have one more meeting. Sorry. You don't have to stay.
We
You're
we have
welcome
a,
to stay if
we
you
have a
want.
second meeting that we have
have a
to
second
do.
meeting.
Sorry.
All right. As it is now 8:58, and I'm going to smile when I say this because the agenda says that the second meeting is going to start at 6:15. So it is now 8:59. I'll call the second Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of August 27th to order with a roll call vote.
Commissioner Evans. Here. Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Saborn.
Present?
Commissioner Svoboda.
Here.
Commissioner Straka.
Here.
Commissioner Weber. Here. Chairman Grunt.
Here. First order of business is Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of 25th of June. Approval of the minutes. Edits,
So
corrections.
moved. So moved. Second.
Commissioner Evans.
No changes? We're good?
Oh,
All right.
did you want
Aye.
changes?
Just that everyone was wanting to get on with it quickly, so I
Sorry.
just had to laugh.
Sorry, I can rescind that if you like.
No, I was just. Now we're,
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Commissioner Saborn.
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda.
Aye.
Commissioner Straka.
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairman Grunt.
Aye. Like we did the first meeting, any public comment, nothing to do with this agenda? Probably not. So this case is case number 25-15, a public hearing for the purpose of considering a request by the Village of Brookfield as petitioner for the adoption of a new zoning code and map, which will replace the current zoning code and map incorporated in Chapter 62 of the Village Code in its entirety.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Evans.
aye.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Commissioner Saborn.
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda.
Aye.
Commissioner Straka.
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairman Grunt.
Aye. Report from staff.
No, no reports, none.
I guess at this time, you should just reiterate that this is an application for the text amendment, the new zoning ordinance that's being submitted by the village as petitioner.
And we want to say that all the testimony from zoning commission.
Right, that's gonna,
And that the
Gonna become-
record from the zoning commission.
Correct, that'll be
and
the next,
Planning and oh, okay, sorry. I'm
yeah,
not-
the next step.
Go ahead.
So just for the record, the purpose of this meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission is to consider the application of the village as petitioner for the amendment of its zoning code, zoning ordinance. So we can continue on, you have the correct script.
So go here then?
I'm sure no one's gonna have questions, but then-
Yeah, okay. So I read that already, okay. Commissioners have questions, the petitioner, of course not, there was no report. So the record of the zoning commission meeting held on August 27th, 2026, previously, will be made part of the record for the Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing held on August 27th, 2026, this meeting. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to make a comment or has a question about the case? Hearing none, no response by the applicant. Entertain a motion to close the public comment portion of the hearing and open up discussion to the commissioners.
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Evans.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Commissioner Sabor,
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda,
Aye.
Commissioner Straight.
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairman Grund.
Aye. Any other comments by the commissioners?
I just want to say, this really is a big deal. This is the first in 60-something years.
Yeah.
And everybody who's been involved should be proud of this
Agreed.
accomplishment. Thank you, Arista, for all your very hard work.
I agree with that. Thank you.
Okay, that said, I'll entertain a motion at this time to recommend approval of the proposed comprehensive amendment to the zoning code, chapter 62 of the municipal code, and official zoning map to the president and village board of trustees.
This would be, excuse me, for, also with the proposed,
With the proposed changes discussed
amendment.
at the previous meeting.
right, that have been made part of this record.
That are made part of this record.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Evans,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Commissioner Sabor,
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda,
Aye.
Commissioner Straight.
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairman Grund.
Aye. Any updates since 10 minutes ago? That said, I'd like to adjourn the second meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission of August 27th at 9:04.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Evans.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Commissioner Sabor,
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda,
Aye.
Commissioner Straight.
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairman Grund.
Aye.
All good. Thanks, Tom.
Oh, do we have a meeting in September?
For
Libby,
this body.
do we have a meeting in September?
You need to prepare some type of report or.
Yeah, we got that kind of going already. All right. Thank you.
We might, okay.
Yes.
Libby started the draft.
Okay, so, yeah, and I mean, a report.
Oh, okay.
Not the zoning commission.
Okay, oh, okay.
Previous meeting of this commission, if there's like a subsequent report, it'd probably be the same exact.
Yeah, right, because then I have to sign.
Yeah, yeah. And then, yeah, like, so, the statute does give, it gives the corporate authorities they can enact the ordinance that you send to them with or without change, so they can make changes.
Absolutely, that I understand.
So, yeah, but if they say, you know what, we feel more comfortable sending it back to the zoning commission,
Yeah.
they wanna have, be in full transparency, we got folks that are saying like, hey, I don't know if things are gonna change.
That's,
Yeah.
because we've had, I think we had one joint meeting with them early on.
Okay. Yeah, now you've
This
got.
is, this village, you know, word gets around quick.
Right. So now you've got your 30 full days, you don't have to worry about, time crunch.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, yeah. Good to see you. I knew, when I saw the agenda, it sounds like the first meeting is gonna be like big.
Yeah, right.
And it's
That's
gonna
why
be
it was funny when it was
like the
6:50.
the
Should've been the other way
15-minute
around,
meeting
yeah.
is gonna be the second meeting. But, yeah, procedurally, so I was like, how are you gonna try to tell people, hold your comments until 15 minutes from now? So I was like, that's never gonna work. So, thanks.
I've been in some, you know, do other villages?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this was, I just.
I've been in ones where you got 3 minutes.
Oh, yeah, that's, yeah.
And they
Yeah, oh, yeah.
stop 'em.
Oh, yeah, we had,
3 minutes.
we got like a clock like that, but it's a timer. Oh, yeah, it's like, all right. And then, they'll have, if certain boards have adopted their own rules, they'll say like, if you're repetitive, like you said, you ask people to be cordial, but like, they'll just like gavel you and be like, it's already been asked, it's already been answered.
Well, yeah, and that would happen tonight with some of the board person. It's just this guy with the pen and pushes in the property.
It's a good demonstration of like how, just the one guy with the business wanted no parking, required, and then the other guy comes in and wants all kinds of parking, right? It's like, well, there you go. There's a perfect example of how you can't please everybody.
Thank you
But,
for your efforts.
And then you could go, oh, look at this guy. This is why we can't.
Go home.
And then, yeah, then the nice thing is, I guess, have a startup or three to say, hey, I see it, no one is there, hey, on this issue. So then you just get blamed up, which is true.
Good night, all.
I wonder,
separate in-house internal